Good Monday morning. Yes, from Go Maha. We are, Gary and Matt, back with you on a Monday, live and local. Jimmy is here as well. And we can be sad for a moment.
Oh,
The College World Series has come to an end.
it has.
At some point this morning, they're going to start to dismantle the Ferris wheel.
I did not take a ride.
Yeah?
I said that I would. I didn't. I'm a liar. I just never made my way over there.
It was going strong late last night.
That park looks so much better when you can have the Ferris wheel like in the
Yeah.
background, like from just sitting down, like from behind home plate and everything like that, and like brings such a great local flavor. But I'm not a Ferris wheel guy.
Yeah, you don't like heights, correct?
I don't like heights,
Yeah.
but I did kind of like rappelling down that 20-story building was actually really good for me. Like, I think it kind of helped me like get over part fear. I just wasn't like, I didn't have a hankering to just like spin around for 2.5 minutes on the Ferris wheel.
But the College World Series is over. LSU wins in 2. And LSU fans, we love you and we need you here. We desperately need you in Omaha. But man, you failed from 2 years ago. You desperately failed.
Whoa. How did
Because
they
2 years
fail?
ago, you weren't here 2 years ago.
I wasn't.
2 years ago, when they won the national championship, it was a blank show. Okay, the night of the championship into the early morning.
Yeah.
There were people that were passed out in our streets. There were people that were trying to do things that they probably shouldn't do, but you're allowed when you're from Louisiana and you just won a national championship. I'm very disappointed because I was in downtown Omaha late last night into this morning, celebrating with friends who are Oklahoma City Thunder fans.
Oh, okay.
So the most I saw was just drunk LSU fans trying to ride our scooters.
Oh.
Nobody was trying to like punch a horse.
You didn't want.
Nobody was trying to like moonwalk downcoming.
Nobody was trying to climb the Mike the Tiger,
No.
the float, and
No.
get in Mike the Tiger.
So I'm kind of let down that Go Maha did not celebrate accordingly because you have every right to celebrate after winning the championship series in 2, grabbing your 8th. And anytime you wear the best looking jersey in all of college baseball, those gold jerseys that they wore yesterday, man, that is a banger.
It is a nice
absolute banger. But college baseball is over. Now we go into this. Some like to say
this is
freeze of sports.
Big Cat called it a sport winter. I've never called it that before, but that's exactly what it is. But
college football is 2 months away, but I'm going to give you hope here. You know why?
Why?
Because 5.5 weeks away is the Hall of Fame game in the NFL.
The preseason NFL game, which the Bears
get excited
play.
first hit.
The Bears often play in the Hall of Fame game, and there's nothing like when you have like a rookie quarterback or like a young quarterback, and they might play in that game. I'm cool. Like, here's the thing with the sport winter, it's like a month, right? I mean, it's essentially just like July,
5.5
and then you
weeks.
get 5.5 weeks, and then you're like good to go.
But I love baseball, so
sure,
I
you're
just
right.
sit around.
It's summer.
You're good. I'm okay with baseball. I turn into Major League Matt. I put on a game or two like during the day. I now
You're texting me about spin rate.
No, I'm not going to text you about the seams of the ball and whether or not Andrew McCutcheon has proper sources to say if the ball's changed this year.
You're like, Suzuki for real? Can he make 2 errors in the outfield but hit 2 home runs?
Well, I always called it a say a June, and if anything, he had a better April or May.
Speaking of the Cubs, who they're kind of in the June. They just don't have enough power stuff to compete with the Mariners this weekend when the weather is like it is at Wrigley. Today is the first day of the year that the Cardinals and Cubs are playing.
Yeah.
How do we make it to June 23rd in the schedule? And this is the first time the Cubs and Cards are playing.
You're really kind of like 2019 when the Cubs had a lead for most of the season and then blew up in September, but had so many back of the season games against the Cardinals.
Yeah, but they played like they played the Cards early. This is the first time, the series that opens in St. Louis now.
I'm fan. 4 games. It's going to be massive. And now the Cubs, unfortunately, against teams now. Do the Cardinals have a winning record? Or they're pretty damn close, right? If they do, I know
they are hot and cold depending on the week.
Yeah, so they haven't had the best amount of success against teams with the winning record over the last 6 weeks. This will be a big one for them if they can win this series. But you have baseball, I have NASCAR. every Sunday. It's like a football game for me. It's been absolutely incredible. Pocono was a great race.
And
Chase
this is a
Briscoe.
new thing, right? You
only
weren't
have it 'cause
always
you
a
gamble on
NASCAR
it.
guy?
No, I've now learned about NASCAR. I've now learned about cars and clean air and traction and
you
like
gamble.
and
If you
pit
weren't
stopping.
gambling on NASCAR, would you watch it?
Be
I
honest.
think gambling
Be
has
honest.
accentuated my enjoyment, but I'm not betting $40.
You're not alone. There's not alone. There's a lot of people that NASCAR, like gambling, has helped their interest in NASCAR, not back to the good old days.
Sure.
But more people, like, you could bet on it, so people watch, like yourself.
I put $10 on Denny Hamlin, and
Okay.
I was stuck to my seat when he came in second place.
That was a
yesterday.
wise move because he usually runs well at Pocono.
7-time
Yeah.
champion in Pocono, had
Mm.
pole
Wow.
position
Yes,
as well,
research.
and still lost to Chase Briscoe, who had a great race.
All right, so yesterday, quite a strange sports day on the
Overall.
Sunday. So
It really was.
we had the College World Series. First of all, you survived.
I did.
You survived. So
My-
I'm glad you're here this morning.
My throat is
You
very,
made it through.
is very, very sore. Okay, I've been having a lot of lozenges and Advils, but I am here. I am alive.
We are
I'm very
glad that you
tired.
survived.
Baby's first College World Series was an overwhelming success.
That's awesome.
Helps to be young.
I mean, I thought you might have retired after our time together on Saturday.
Yeah.
How was yesterday's? Was it as rambunctious?
No, it was very calm.
Yeah.
It was very cookie cutter.
Was it boring?
No, we talked about
Yeah,
sports
was it
and we had
boring?
some funny.
Was it boring?
We didn't have a tiger come up onto the stage, and you didn't try to interview him right before we had a proper guest on or
Interview
anything
her?
like that. I was just, her. At the same time, Josh Peter.
Did Josh do any neck?
No neck was played. No neck was complicated or anything like that. I did have a moment where I was trying to talk to some people in the crowd, and I think Josh Hodson had some PTSD from what you did the day before. But we're good. Look, you should go back. It's and I'm telling people to go back and watch it because it's easy to find. It's at the end of our OBV show when you bring on a woman who's dressed up as a tiger, and we are up against the clock. We have like 10 minutes left.
She came with me. She went, rah, rah. I'm like, oh, I am interviewing you.
So, well, first off,
Jimmy,
that's not true. That's not true.
She was dressed as a tiger.
She was dressed as a tiger, and she was sitting down. And you looked at me, and I think I was making a sport point. You go, is she dressed like a tiger right there? And I go, yep, she's in a tiger dress, and she had the little ears. Then you brought her on. We had about 4 minutes left before we had to go to break, and we had a proper guest on that we had met in the Omaha Baseball Village.
What was not proper about her?
You were trying to
very
get
lovely
me,
and engaging.
You were trying to get me to get my headset to her so she could be on a microphone. And you're like, we have to talk to the tiger. And then you could hear Josh Hodson screaming.
Oh, you can on the stream?
Yes, screaming. We can't do the tiger. We can't do the tiger. No tiger. And you're going, we can always do the tiger. We can always do the tiger. So, and we're like, that was the best part, though, is we were calling this woman a tiger.
Well, then we saw her a little bit later.
Yes.
She was posing in her tiger outfit.
Well, I don't know. I thought she was going to the game. Like, that's where I thought.
Well, she said she's an alum of LSU.
But she was like then doing like modeling shots, like posing
For the
and
gram.
There was like
For the gram.
Well, it was the fan that squirts water out, right? And she was standing in front of like the water squirting
The
fan.
mister.
Yeah, the mister. I'm sorry. No matter,
It's a big difference between a mister and a squirter.
Well,
Really?
There is.
6:18 on Monday morning.
Yeah.
What the?
she was misting, and then we didn't see her again. Unfortunately,
No, we did not. So I'm glad that you survived.
I'm
I
glad
hope
that
everybody
survived.
enjoyed
I had a
our
great
wall-to-wall coverage. We had a lot of fun bringing it to you. And so I got this intel yesterday.
Oh,
So back the heat isn't supposed to be as bad. Like weird 3 days of heat where we had 45-mile-an-hour winds.
And now we're back to
across the nation
Well,
too.
Nice.
it's not like we're out of our little bit of a heat wave here, but it is supposed to rain today.
Yeah,
If we were playing today, because of the potential of rain,
especially tonight.
yep, they were going to. This was what ESPN was in discussion with. Is they were going to play at 10 a.m. this morning, the championship.
Whoa.
Yeah.
10 a.m.
Well, because regularly it was going to go at 6:30,
Yes.
right?
Sure.
6:30 would have been the start time tonight, and it's supposed to rain all night.
Yeah, it's supposed to
And
be one of
so
those.
they were going to move it up just to be safe, and they had started to discuss 10 a.m. today if
Could
there
you
was a game
imagine
3.
that?
I had one person tell me that they thought it was going to be a day game, but I assumed that would have
Yeah,
been
I think it was going to be a day game no matter what.
I had assumed that would have been though at like 1 o'clock, 10 a.m.
Yeah,
would
because
have
they didn't want to
been
have like any
wild.
potential in the afternoon
Yeah.
of not making it through, because they would be done for the day. That was kind of like their thinking yesterday.
Once
They got-
it starts, it's yeah.
But Gomaha was able
Sure.
to win the national championship. So this is what we had
So now it
yesterday.
can rain.
We had Weird Sports Day. So we had a head coach in a national championship event get run in the first inning.
Crazy.
Bad look both sides. Horrible look both
Yeah.
sides.
The Cardinals in 1985.
And then we had a star in the NBA blows out his Achilles 7 minutes into Game 7 of the NBA Final last night. Weird Sports Day.
Yeah.
But the LSU Tigers are champs, and the Oklahoma City Thunder in a television market that is between Winston-Salem and Albuquerque is an NBA champion for the first time. How about that?
Absolutely incredible. I think that let's start with Oklahoma City. If they've been what's been really impressive about Oklahoma City is ever since they moved to Seattle, from Seattle to OKC,
Right.
they have been
Stole the Sonics.
Yes, they have been competitive. They have been like in the limelight. They have been a franchise that you have to know about that has been incredibly relevant. And it's funny, like we've seen in the NHL, like some of these expansion franchises pretty quickly, they can get to the top and they can be competing, but we don't see that really across any other sport. Seeing Sam Presti have the Larry O'Brien trophy, I think was really, really cool.
Yeah.
If you've been a fan of this league for a long time, because he's just been a grinder and he's just been through it. And he's made so many good moves and he's had to manage through so many different situations, whether it be, Kevin Durant leaving and having to trade Russell Westbrook and then having to trade Paul George and the whole James Harden saga. And then he had to make the tough decision of, all right, we got to move on from Billy Donovan, who was like a pillar of that franchise. And to see him win this title, but then also do it with pieces that didn't come directly from Seattle. Like they've kind of built this OKC team from bottom up. It was cool. At the same time, though, you want to celebrate the Oklahoma City Thunder for winning the title, which we should, but it's hard to get that sour taste out of your mouth when you think about Tyrese Halliburton.
And especially the way he was starting to shoot. But I've told a lot of people, I don't have letters after my name. I don't have a doctor in front.
Sure.
But I have studied enough with WebMD.
Okay.
Is calf strain. If you have a calf strain, you need to shut her down.
Yeah.
I mean, calf strains usually are about 2 months, but
Look at Aaron Rodgers.
Guys like Durant and Halliburton, they're in the moment and they want to play.
Kobe blew out his
a
Achilles.
A calf strain. How many times does a calf strain with an athlete lead to an Achilles? And it's too bad because the Achilles serial killer is out there. And he has come in this playoff and gotten Dame. He's gotten Tatum. He's gotten Halliburton. And these are at least 9 months. I mean, the Aaron Rodgers thing was kind of mind-boggling, but it's usually about 9 months to a year.
Yeah, his season may be in jeopardy next year.
Think about
which sucks.
Think about okay, so you had Durant, you had Clay, you had Aaron Rodgers, you had Kobe. I mean, anytime there's a calf strain now, I'm shutting her down. I mean, I don't know if the Achilles injury in the NBA, because there's no rhyme or reason. Like you can't, so the push-off mechanism that Halliburton had, and you see it pop, you knew right away what it was. And ESPN didn't need to show it as many times as they did.
Yeah.
Which was surprising.
And then they
reminds me of Aaron Rodgers.
They tried to make it, they inserted like in the third quarter, they showed it again as part of a storyline going out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we've seen it enough. But there's no rhyme or reason of an Achilles, okay, because it just kind of comes out of
Usually
nowhere,
just snaps and it's over.
But I'm telling you, you guys go back and look at this. And anytime you hear about an athlete with a calf strain, I don't want to hear about him playing because calf strains lead to Achilles. I mean, not all calf strains, but a majority of calf strains.
But you look at that extra pressure you use.
Yeah, and I don't know if this becomes like the NBA's Tommy John, but it's just it's unfortunate because you can't predict it. Like sometimes you can go, okay, man, he's got some bad knees and maybe Achilles come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And just look who's gotten injured in the playoffs. Like 3 of the top players. I don't want to put an asterisk on it, but the way he was starting to play last night because he was shooting threes.
He had 9 points in 7 minutes.
And they ran out of gas.
Yeah.
And he dictates the tempo when Oklahoma City started to mug you and turn you over. But I mean, that's sports, unfortunately.
It's one of those things though where it's like there wasn't any way he wasn't playing.
No.
And like that
it's just bad luck.
Yeah, that is the disappointing thing.
That's just how it is sometimes.
And also too though, Achilles is one of the very few injuries now where it's not only just it's a long recovery time, but the effect it has on you after you recover from it too.
Are they close to the same?
Kevin Durant
they come down a little bit?
Kevin Durant came down a little bit.
Clay,
after he got Clay for sure came down a little bit after he came back.
I know Kobe was old, but still,
yeah. But like Aaron Rodgers, like I know cross sport, but he was definitely not the same after that. And look at the way Halliburton plays. Halliburton plays with an explosiveness. Halliburton plays with where he's handling the ball a lot. He's constantly moving his feet.
Marino was an Achilles, and he was not that he was Michael Vick before, but he was a statue after he came back. I know this was in the 90s, but
it's just so heartbreaking.
No one is safe.
Well, it's so heartbreaking because we're to the point of like, not only he's probably going to miss next season, which is like next season was so big for Tyrese Halliburton after this playoff run. Because it would have given him the ability to reestablish or continue to establish that he's a top player.
It ruined 2 seasons.
Go Knicks, go Magic.
Go Magic.
And go Cleveland. In the East next year, the East is wide open.
The East
I would be very aggressive now in the East if I look at Boston, Milwaukee, and Indiana. They don't have one star because they're going to probably be out for the year.
Mm-hmm. Go get you a
title. I think the Knicks and Orlando and Cleveland, those are the 3 that have the best odds next year in the East.
If you're New York now,
you don't even have a coach, so
get one of those first.
That's a good point. But after you get your coach, you go all in trying to get Giannis.
Not even the Heat.
I don't think Giannis will leave Milwaukee.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, that's the one thing. It's been interesting. He's always said, just as long as we can compete and be a winner, I don't want to leave Milwaukee. Now, Jeff Teague had because he was a former teammate with Giannis Antetokounmpo. He goes, if a team signs Giannis Antetokounmpo, they actually have a really good shot at going to get Giannis, which is really funny that Thanasis really potentially could control the league at this point.
So the Heat need to get him.
Oh, friggin' Pat Riley's 80 years old. I mean, hey, at some point, you know what? You got to value picks. Okay? I know they were involved with Durant.
Yeah.
I got thoughts, but
it's a good thing they didn't get him.
I mean, they didn't have enough assets to get Durant, but I mean, Pat Riley isn't getting any younger.
No, but it's a weird situation now because if you look back on it, if the Heat were able to figure it out with Jimmy and keep Jimmy and have Jimmy Butler on the roster, they could potentially retool. Yeah. And you're looking at a situation where they can end up winning the East.
All right, coming up on the show, Evan Bland's going to stop by. We'll have a recap of the College World Series. Evan had a great gamer yesterday. Also, what is going on with Nebraska baseball? There are a lot of things that are going on that are. So Evan will join us coming up at 8:30. That's a lineup brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. Quickly before we go into break, because we'll touch more on this.
Sure.
So you being NASCAR guy,
I've become official McNASCAR.
McNASCAR. Are you familiar with Jeff Gluck?
No,
you're not officially McNASCAR.
Okay.
So people that follow NASCAR, Jeff Gluck covers NASCAR.
Okay.
And his thing after look at that Ferris wheel. Channel 6 got a skyline shot. That Ferris wheel is still up. Oh, just leave it
just
behind.
Like London.
Leave it behind and leave it in that parking lot.
Like the London Eye.
But Jeff Gluck, his thing after every race, was it a good race?
Oh, yeah.
So he has a poll.
Okay.
So was it a good College World Series in 2025 where LSU dogpiled for the second time in 3 years? Was it a good College World Series?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it wasn't great. Right. I think you definitely missed some of the home runs and the long ball. That would have been awesome to see. And the weather didn't cooperate, I think, with the series as much. But there was some really competitive games. There was some masterful performances on the mound. There was some craziness. We got and not just the Arkansas game, but throughout the entirety of the series, we got just stupid things happening and people just making mistakes they haven't made before. So I would call it good. It was a good World Series. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I would too. It just shows you we need more SEC teams in Omaha.
because of just the
atmosphere,
energy.
the games aside. It got off to a slow start.
Yeah.
It picked up. There will be moments that you remember, which always goes to, hey, when I look back, I remember Kate Anderson shoving on game one of the series, or what happened yesterday, or the Arkansas LSU game, or you saw a no-hitter.
Well,
so you'll have that in 2025. And that ballpark is starting to get more of those moments.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it was a good College World Series, but we need SEC fans here. We need more fan bases that have large followings.
The energy.
If I'm looking out for my friends that own businesses, because business was down.
Yeah,
their business was down at the College World Series this year.
Which is funny to say because I think the Omaha Baseball Village was absolutely popping, at least from like the people who were.
Yeah, I think that was a side. I think the OBV this year really did well.
It was awesome.
But the other businesses, the people that I know that own in either Millwork or, like closer to the ballpark, was not a good year.
It was, well, if you look at Rocco's, and I'm just basing purely off of the Jell-O shots, right? Like, because that's the only math that we get.
No, that's a good way to judge. That's a really good way to judge, like the atmosphere of the College World Series.
They got off to a really quick start with Murray State getting a couple of thousand, and you had Arizona in there, and they were doing well. And then as the weeks kind of went on, and more of those teams got eliminated, it seemed like it slowed down a little bit to the point where they stopped tweeting about the pace. They were tweeting about this year's pace to last year's pace. Now, they did get unlucky in the fact that you didn't have a Thursday game and you didn't have a Monday game, which definitely affected that, which I know for them, specifically with the Jell-O shots, is a lot of revenue. But for me, it seemed like a lot of people wanted to be in the Village, and then everywhere else, especially with like those bars were closing down pretty early. You're right. The atmosphere just around the park just didn't seem like it was there.
So the final Jell-O shot total was 52,390 for LSU. Okay. I mean, there's going to be there's a lot of money.
60,000 the year before, or the last time they came, right in 2023.
Yeah, like significant, like 14,000 more, maybe. I think that was the record. So LSU in 23 and 25 hold the two top spots, but that's a good way to judge. Like, okay, what kind of a series is it from the atmosphere standpoint? It's still a lot of money that they've raised that will go to charity, but we need SEC teams. Well, sometimes it's nice to have the Murray State.
Yeah.
And then we don't need the Coastal Carolina. Even though there were more teal outside of the ballpark than there were in, which was weird to me. There are a lot of Coastal Carolina fans that were downtown last night after the game. We don't need Murray State. We don't need Coastal Carolina.
We don't need three West Coast teams.
Yeah, we have too many Arizona, too many UCLA. SEC teams, you may hate the SEC and but damn, they won 6 straight here. For our business friends, we need more SEC teams.
Well, also we look back at the series, like what were the most memorable moments made? They were made literally by all SEC teams in terms of LSU playing Arkansas, or Arkansas throwing a shutout, or LSU throwing a gem. Like it was just they played the highest quality baseball outside of Coastal Carolina.
All right. Was this a good College World Series? Whether your team won, whether you were an umpire, whether you were a head coach, we're going to get into that when we come back because there was a bad look yesterday. Kevin Schnall and Angel Campos, bad look on both sides. And I know that I'm probably in the minority when I say that, but I'm going to tell you why it was a very, very bad look on both sides. And it became Kevin Schnall doubled down on a bad look in the postgame press conference. So I will explain that. If you would like to talk about what you saw yesterday, or was it a good College World Series from your standpoint, you can always join us on the Prairie Flower Casino hotline, 402-951-1620. The whole gang's here on a Monday. No baseball. Sad. But LSU, happy.
What? Cardinals play the Cubs today.
So there's Major League Baseball tonight. Yeah, hell yeah.
There's
all about
baseball.
The CWS. The Men's College World Series, by the way. I was told by somebody at the NCAA that I keep forgetting the men's.
Oh, come on now. You can't. It's MCWS, Gary. Get with the times,
the College
man.
World
Gary,
Series.
Gary's canceling men.
Be exclusive.
It's
or be
the College
inclusive.
World Series.
Stop being exclusive. Be inclusive.
It's his generation.
It's the MCWS, Gary.
I think you mixed that up.
I did. I do. Like a lot of things that I do, I said the wrong word.
It is Gary and Matt on a Monday on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in on a Monday morning. I think maybe this morning, if you hop on the old X, your For You tab will be in a lot better place than it was yesterday.
Why do you say that?
Were you not in your For You tab yesterday?
I'm always in my For You tab. What was
yours not just craziness? You were trying to find some sports?
No.
The next thing you were locked into, man, them B-2 bombers are badass.
37 hours in the air.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. No, I've been able to manipulate space and time where I don't get any sort of like politics or war things on my Twitter, other than the occasional Elon Musk tweet. Are Elon and Donald good now, by the way? They had that beef. Are they okay?
I don't
Did we ever get an update?
I might get a reunion tour here.
Yeah.
All I know is that my knowledge of the B-2 bombers is really, really good. And them guys are badass. All right, Andy writes into the Equitable Bank inbox where you can. Gary at 1620thezone.com or Matt at 1620thezone.com, where they take banking personally. This is about the incident in the first inning yesterday, which, again, I think it's a bad look for both sides. I think Kevin Schnall, you gotta lose the chip, buddy.
Yeah.
You got to lose the chip, okay? Andy writes in, I'm curious if this was just me, but did yesterday's College World Series game feel like LSU winning was anticlimactic? Game 7 last night was. And a bit overshadowed by Coastal Carolina coaches being tossed so early. I don't know all the information about what the coaches said and when and what and how many warnings were given, but it just seemed they were thrown out very easily as though the ump was possibly a little thin-skinned. On TV, it looked like the ump was pretty enthusiastic about tossing both coaches and making the scene in the game about him. I just feel like that game's headline is more than the coaches being thrown out. I just feel like that game's headline is more about the coaches being thrown out than LSU winning the title. And that's correct. I was my good friends in Fort Myers who do a sports talk show. I was on with them this morning, and that's what they wanted to talk about. I mean, when their producer, John, texted me last night, I knew it wasn't, hey, let's talk about how great LSU was and how they went 5-0 here in Omaha. They wanted to talk about this. So here's my thoughts on this. And I will start from Angel Campos' side. This guy got fired in the majors about a decade ago. He had a stretch of 5 years where he threw out 23 guys.
Jeez.
He is extremely thin-skinned. It has been pretty well known in college baseball. He had an incident last year in the Clemson Regional where he threw out their best player, and it was egregious. So that has been his thing, that he is very, very thin-skinned.
Yeah.
Ask Willie Bloomquist of Arizona State. He got thrown out of a game earlier this year for almost something very similar to what transpired yesterday. I've officiated. My father officiated. I know plenty of officials and all across the sports, and especially in baseball. So the easiest thing to do in baseball as an umpire is to eject somebody. That's very easy to do. But umpires that have umpired at the highest level in Major League Baseball, because I've asked them, they said you don't ever want to lose the authority.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to keep the authority, but you also want to keep them in the game of the person that is enraged coming at you. Now, we don't have as much in Major League Baseball because of replay. So we've taken a little bit of the emotion out. But in college, we still have that. So that's your number one goal, is I'm not going to lose the authority.
Yeah.
I know that person is upset. I want to keep them in the game because it's easy to eject them. You have to have some common sense, and you have to understand what the situation is. So Campos, very thin-skinned. He has always been that way. Shouldn't surprise you that he runs the head coach and the first base coach. Now, why I say it's a bad look for both sides, Kevin Schnall, who is a hothead and has had a chip on his shoulder since he showed up in Omaha. I said if he's coaching your team, you love him. Yeah. If he's not, he's got the lead oar on the douche canoe.
You're right.
So,
you are right.
So this is what I think he did yesterday. Now, everybody knows the 3.
Sure.
Those were 3 borderline pitches. You mean to tell me that you are that irate in the first inning of an elimination game that you put your team in harm? That's irresponsible, okay? I don't care if you're angry or not, but I think this is what happened.
Yeah.
I think he did this as a calculated thing for his team, and he didn't think he was going to get run. Okay?
Really?
And once he stepped out and he got in it, he got run. And it's a bad bad look. That early in the game, you're that fired up, that early in the game that you put your team in that position, you're irresponsible. And you know what? You've walked around with a chip on your shoulder the entire tournament. People that follow the sport know how damn good your team is, okay? Mm-hmm. You're listening to everybody else. You're listening to other people. Listen to the people that know ball, or you know what? Listen to your voice that you know you have a good team. So he's kind of walked around like that all week, and it was a bad look on both sides. And there's no other way. I can't defend either one, and I'm not here to defend either one. Both could have handled it differently, and he's right.
Sure.
There was no bumping. The umpire fell on his own, and that's a bad look, and I'm sure he's embarrassed. Mm-hmm. And it went down from there, and there was nothing. It was a bad look from the NCAA, from Coastal Carolina.
You can't,
and it's solely, and like Andy's email, it sullied the game because that's all everybody talked about.
You can't have an umpire that is going to do that umpiring that game. If you're the home plate umpire, you have to understand the stakes of where you're at and understand that, hey, no matter under what circumstances, unless it is completely egregious on the other, whether it be Jay Johnson or Kevin Schnall, you can't run that guy there. But at the same time, too, like that energy in that building from not only just the Coastal Carolina fans, but from the Coastal Carolina dugout, it just seemed like it zapped. Mm-hmm. Like Kevin Schnall has put himself in a situation where he is the living heartbeat of Coastal Carolina baseball, that he is the team's energy. He is the team's soul. And he's got to recognize, hey, my team can't win without me. Yep. My team can't win without me being in this dugout, right? Because when the Chanticleers come back in the dugout and they're the guy that's been banging on the drum for them this entire time saying, you guys are the best, you guys are elite, you guys are one of the best programs in college baseball. When he's not there, like it's not the same. They're not the same team. And from that moment on, it just seemed like every time LSU did something, it was going to be harder for Coastal Carolina to come back because they didn't have their coach in the bench.
Now, I don't think that Morrison was not very good yesterday.
No.
Okay, and they squandered opportunities.
They squandered opportunities in game 1 too.
Yeah, they didn't hit with runners in scoring position.
No.
But I think, I mean, any head coach knows this. I think he could have stayed in the dugout and done the whole 3 fingers.
Yeah.
And he would have let him go. But anybody will tell you that umpires, that once you step out and you start arguing balls and strikes, that is, for the most part, an automatic ejection.
Yeah.
Now, I'm probably, as an umpire, it's the first inning. Okay? And I'm going to let him go a little bit. And again,
sure,
you don't want to give up authority, but your goal is to keep them in the game until they take themselves out of the game, because it's easy to eject somebody. And I think it turned out to be very easy. But if you think about what he did out of the dugout, it shouldn't surprise you that he got run.
Well, he was told, hey, you're arguing balls and strikes.
Mm-hmm.
And his response to it was, I'm going to continue to argue balls and strikes.
But I think if he would have stayed in the dugout and chirped, he would have been fine.
Yeah.
But then he came out, and I also want to know what the first base coach said, because that one was really, really quick. But it also coincides with the game was already ratcheted up.
Mm-hmm.
They thought the third base coach for LSU was calling pitches because he could tell how Morrison was gripping the baseball, the way the glove was moving. And so they thought that he was tipping pitches. At out of the third base box. I don't know if that, I have no evidence, but that's what Coastal Carolina was thinking. It's a mess across the board. And then you throw in the fact that the guy that is in charge of umpiring for college baseball after 11 years is quote unquote retiring, or he's being pushed out the door. So it was just a mess that is the talk of what happened yesterday, and not that LSU had a hell of a run.
Well, Angel Campos too. You can't shoo off like the whole. This is not a nice, for those watching. I'm doing the whole shoo off thing. You don't do that to people. That's a disrespectful sign to do. Like, hey, like you're lesser than. Get out of the way. But at the same time too, Kevin Schnall, he just has to understand the situation that his team can't win without him in that situation.
Yeah, it was very
and that he
was
can't be
irresponsible.
running out there and sprinting out there. And then in the post game presser, so he plays both sides of the coin in the post game presser because he goes ahead and he says, "Look, I'm going to own it because that's our team saying, and that's what we do here at Coastal Carolina." And then at the same time, though, the next paragraph is making a bunch of excuses as to what happened and explaining, it's not my fault the guy fell over, and it's not my fault that the guy isn't athletic. And so I don't know. I think that he came in here to Omaha, like you said, with a chip on his shoulder, and he leaned into that kind of character and leaned into that attitude, and then it all just kind of exploded with him trying to defend that.
He was a tough guy. He was a tough guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I like his team. He was great to us.
Sure.
Came on the show, but he's got that. There is a gigantic chip on his shoulder, but you gotta understand, you can't do that to your team. And again, the more I watch it, I think it was a little bit calculated, and he didn't think he was going to get run.
Well, also too, he put so much stake in scoring the first run, and in game one they had a runner on second, and they couldn't get him to score. Okay, and then LSU scored first. And I think in that moment for Kevin Schnall, with all the stock he's put into, we got to score first. We're 37-2 when we scored the first run of the game. That first inning is massive. Mm-hmm. And so he's already on edge because that is what he's made the identity of the team. It's just, when you're told, hey, you're arguing balls and strikes, you have to be very careful when you take 5 steps out of the dugout and you start saying you missed this amount of calls. He was showing them up. Like, he really was showing them up. If Angel Campos, like everybody knows at that point, in the entirety, that all 25,000 people know that Kevin Schnall thinks that Angel Campos has missed 3 calls.
Yeah. I think there's watching a lot of college and pro baseball, professional baseball umpires will let you go a little bit more. Because again, they want to keep you in the game until you've got magic words or something else, and then you're not keeping yourself in the game. I think college umpires, and I don't know if they're instructed, they have a shorter fuse. Like, they're not interested in engaging in conversation, but the balls and strikes, you can't do that. You can't do that at any level.
But he got run.
But in the first inning, maybe you just say, "Hey, I've heard you, okay?"
Yes. Yeah.
And even if you have to put a palm up or whatever, just say, "I heard you, okay?" That's enough. Go back to the dugout. I think the shooing then just ignited the fuse, and it was all hell breaking loose. But I really want to know what the first base coach said, because he might have said more magical words than Kevin Schnall, because his ejection was a lot quicker.
He was sprinting he was up and down the field. It's funny though. I feel like when Campos did the shoe, Kevin Schnall went from head coach of Coastal Carolina to grown man at bar.
Well, and you would. You kind of. I mean, I'm not condoning that. But I mean,
but
come on,
you don't know. You don't do that.
I would. In the moment, I would have snapped as well.
If I just grown man to grown man, if I shooed you off, right, or if you were like you and I were working together or whatever, and just in general, I did the shooing motion, you would look at me like, "The hell's wrong with you? What are you doing?"
Yeah, just
like, and then in front of a bunch of people that I'm going like this. Let's go from here and let's just turn the palm over and let's show our palm and go, "Hey, we're good. Okay, I understand, Kevin. I understand. I get it. I don't want to run you." Kevin hears that. We've seen this all. John Boy's done a great job of like breaking these down into major league, right? Umpires go, "Hey, we're good. I don't want to run you here. This is a big moment." No, he took 2 steps out and said 6 words and he ran. But Schnall's got to know too. Like, after you're told, "Hey, You're getting warned for arguing balls and strikes," does not mean continue to argue balls and strikes.
And
with
there
the
were
umpire.
They were 3 borderline. They weren't like egregious where you're like, "Oh boy, we're having a rough day." It's the first inning. I mean, you're on edge in the first inning.
The scene in the press box was insane because it happened all so quickly. I was sitting at one of the tables, so I wasn't looking out to the field, and you could hear the crowd before you see the TV, right? So they show the TV of Schnall like taking 2 steps out, and then you hear the pop of the crowd of him getting thrown out. I kid you not, there was about 8 people it was like a 5-alarm fire. We run to the front to get like the field view. And then about 10 seconds later, the second ump falls over onto his back and the whole press goes, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That was an unfortunate thing. And he did not bump him.
And then they were going to suspend him. If they were playing today, he was going to get suspended for today, which that became the talk of the town too, because I've never seen that before where the umpire puts up 2 fingers.
Yeah, I've not seen that before. That usually is one of those things that happens afterwards. But with that said, we're going to talk to an umpire who has worked in the College World Series, who has a thought on what happened yesterday.
All right.
That'll join us after 7. I know a lot of you have thoughts. Iowa JD, who's a college softball umpire, and is the happiest guy in the world that everybody is leaving Omaha so he can have his Carter Lake back. We'll read a tweet that he had. You can join us on the Prairie Flower Casino hotline, 402-951-1620. I guess we should talk about LSU.
Oh, yeah, that'd probably
winning
be a
their
good
8th
subject.
national title. And how about, is LSU the top athletic program in America?
Knee-jerk no. But I got to think about it now. Knee-jerk no.
Look at what they've done since Scott Woodard showed up as athletic director in April of 2019.
Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Pretty damn
good.
Well, there's right off the bat, there's just 3 national titles immediately.
Plus, we'll have some Nebraska football talk because today could be a busy day for Nebraska, adding to the class of 2026. All of that to come as we roll till 10 on the first day without the College World Series in 2025. Tomorrow will be the second day. Wednesday will be the third. Thursday the fourth. Friday the fifth.
Are we just going to keep doing it until we get to 355?
We're back, baby. 75 years are in the books on 1620 The Zone. All right, college baseball is over. That's it. That's it. College athletics will change forever. The next up, college football. College football, baby.
Well, I'm pretty sure college soccer actually begins before college football.
Who?
But in terms of,
Who?
well, I'm just saying,
nobody cares about that.
If we're,
Armageddon will be here before
if
you
we're
know
going
it.
off the sports schedule, it's college soccer
so-
begins. So college soccer, hey,
No.
shout out USA yesterday, great win.
You
Costa Rica.
You
Or,
stick with
Haiti,
soccer.
sorry.
I'm going to talk about football because the SEC people were telling us, guess what? As they were departing Omaha last night, they're like, guess what?
We're coming.
College football media days in Atlanta are in 3 weeks. How about that?
When's Big Ten? When are we going to Vegas? When do Gary and Matt do Vegas? When does that content come
Gary
out?
will be doing Vegas for the NBA Summer League.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Out of all the things to be doing in Vegas,
I have to be out there, so
okay.
So I'm going to
Fair.
try.
Talked
and,
about the summer
well,
league before.
You got,
but I
so
just love that
the
it's
NBA
such
draft
an-
is Wednesday night. You could have Kalkbrenner going to first round, possibly Bryce Williams, Hunter Salas, John Tanjay. I think Chucky is going to have a. I don't know they'll get drafted, but
You'll have
I'm
summer league
curious to
offers.
watch him. I think if you are from around here, there will be a ton of interest in the NBA Summer League, and of course you have Cooper Fleck. So yes,
It'll be this draft, by the way. Talk about drama. Now we have
Yeah,
this
there will be.
Ace Bailey situation. It'll be. It never ends with the NBA.
All right, so the incident yesterday that occurred in the first inning that probably will be remembered in 2025. You've heard him here before. He's a friend. He has worked in the College World Series. He's worked professional baseball and college baseball, so this will be an interesting perspective. Jeff Hendricks joins us. Good morning.
Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Good. All right, where would you like to start on your what you took away from what happened yesterday?
Well, I want to first of all, everybody's attacking Angel, of course I'm going to be on the umpire side. There's, no doubt about that. He's a great guy, and Angel he is definitely not a hothead. I do like what you guys said about if the coach would have stayed in the dugout, he might have got a little bit more leeway. There is not an umpire that wants to go into the College World Series and eject somebody. That is just, we do not like to throw ourselves into the limelight. I've been there 8 times, never had an ejection. I'm not saying anything, that they're going younger. There wasn't the experience of a number of Omahas there this year. Were fewer, but all 8 guys were ex-AAA umpires. So they're everybody you can see from Twitter and everything like that, this, that, and the other thing. These are very good umpires for one reason or another did not make it into the major leagues. Going back to the ejection, this will be something that we will dissect and say, hey, what could we do better? I did not call up and talk to any of the guys last night. I'm sure they were, they talked about it afterwards. They had to write reports. They're trying to get out of there. But I want to know, I'm guessing that the first base coach is the one that initiated the warning.
Okay.
And when everybody says, oh, we have a quick finger or a quick trigger, I want you to know that a warning is almost like what would be an ejection before we give it an ejection, if you know what I mean. Something's been said that gets a warning. Okay. And so we have done that so that once something happens, hey, you should know when I love what you guys were talking about. Once there's a warning on balls and strikes, all bets are off.
Sure.
I mean, he took 6 steps out of the dugout. I think you said 5, very accurate. It was 6. Here's my question. If he comes 6 steps out and does all that and does not get ejected, what does that give LSU's coaches and Jay Johnson to do for the rest of the game?
A ton of leeway.
A ton of leeway. So, and then I got to go umpire last night up in Arlington. I filled in for a guy who did Arlington and West Point men's league and listened to the post-game show on the way home. And that it kind of, Gary, I think from what you were talking about at the beginning, you kind of came full circle a little bit maybe to the other side after listening to the post-game show about maybe it was calculated. Maybe he was upset. He talked about being an assistant coach.
Sure.
You know, assistant coaches in college baseball always feel like they can't say anything. Well, yes and no. We always shake their hands, you know, at first or third base. We try to talk to them. You know me, we try to have a good working relationship with all coaches because of the ramifications if you get ejected.
So
now I'll let you guys fire away.
So let's, okay. You know, we have a common friend that is in the majors, and he told me that it's so easy to eject a guy. He goes, I want to keep that guy in the game, but I'm never going to lose my authority. You've worked in pro baseball, you've worked in college baseball. Is your interaction with either a manager or a head coach differently because there's pros compared to college?
Good question. I would say we, as an umpire, you're consistent on how you treat people.
Okay.
People know what they can say to you and what will trigger you very easily. There are coaches that know Augie Garrido. Everybody, thought Augie was a hothead. Augie knew how to work people better than anybody else. He might come out to you and say, it might look like it was a Donnybrook of not really of an ejection, but of an argument, and he's telling you how bad his team's playing, and and so it can go a little bit further.
Sure.
The Power 4 schools see a lot of us more, and they know who we are because we're with them in the postseason. You know, the West Coast guys go east, the East Coast guys go west. Guys in the Midwest can go either way. So there is a little bit of notoriety of an umpire, and they know who we are. There's, as you know, Gary, and the pitch tracks charts are all up in the dugout of what this umpire calls behind the plate. They scout our zones as much as they do the other teams. So, like you guys said, it was usually in the first inning, you're strung so tight that if you're trying to get calls in the first inning or it goes sideways that quick, boys, as an umpire, the first thing you do when you get in the locker room afterwards, you think, what could I have done better? And what triggered it so quick?
Sure.
And this might be an unfair question for you, but I need to ask, is there any history between these two?
I would guess no.
Okay.
Jeff, before a game like this, is there a conversation between umpires in terms of, hey, this is a really big game. We maybe need to give a little bigger of a leash here. We need to make sure that we're not doing anything that could compromise this game because of the stakes of it?
I wouldn't say before the game. I think that when with the experience that you have when you're going in, you like at the end of a conference tournament, we'll tell both coaches, hey, at home plate meeting, like I had the American Athletic Conference tournament, I said, hey, no matter what happens here, tell your players do not get ejected because if you win, they're going to be suspended in the first game of the NCAA tournament. We have meetings that you go through and stuff like that. Gary, I've watched pretty much every game. I don't think there's been an ejection in the College World Series for a few years. I think it might have been since 2018 in the final game of Arkansas after, what happened in game 2. Maybe Tennessee.
So
but I don't.
No. So I think it's 2017 is the last ejection. There was one, Vitello's first series. He got a little irate. Frank Anderson got tossed as pitching coach because he was in the dugout and he threw his papers out on the field. But it is, in the College World Series, it is very rare.
Yeah. And so to answer your question, is there a talk beforehand? No. Do we know the ramifications and how big of the game is? Absolutely. That's why you're there.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Jeff Hendricks, who is a professional baseball umpire, has worked in the College World Series, college baseball umpire. While we have you, and I know this is the topic, but there's also another topic that involves umpires. What are we going to do about hit by pitches in college baseball in the box when guys with so much armor on are leaning into pitches, or we have this controversy? It seems like every time now a guy gets hit in college baseball? What do we do with this?
Well, that's, there's two things I think you can do. If the ball's in the batter's box, which we go by a lot, it's a hit by pitch. Second of all, if you're going to wear all the body armor and you get a hit on the body armor, you stay in the box. No hit by pitch. Now that will never come because it's a safety issue.
Sure.
But I would guess, Gary, over the course of the year, that if we had 100 replays, 90 of them are hit by pitch.
Okay.
Every time there's a hit by pitch, it goes to replay. And, they bring TrackMan in. So, you guys were talking about 3 borderline pitches, buffer zones. What's the buffer zone? Now there's TrackMan, but they're still using aluminum bats. And so, if you widen the strike zone anymore, which you can't because of TrackMan, and now we have the hit by pitch. It's just, these are college kids. These aren't major leaguers. Yes, we had a no-hitter. Yes, it was 1-0. They're really good. But when you get past the number 1 and the number 2 guy, then it becomes a little more chaotic. And I would really like to say no more elbow pads, because I would say 80% of the hit by pitches are off the elbow pad, where they can stick that elbow, or now they're turning back. They're turning back with it, where they know where that pitch is, and they can. The look of turning back means that you're trying to get out of the way, but in essence, you're throwing that elbow pad out to get hit.
So that was going to be my question to you, Jeff. Is just because when I used to constitute as trying to get out of the way, is you essentially turn your front shoulder, right? If you turn your front shoulder, hey, you're trying to get out of the way. Are you saying that meant that may not be enough anymore in terms of, because of all the protective gear, that you have to move your feet out of the box? Like, what would you say now would constitute a, hey, they are for sure getting out of the way of the pitch?
Well, that's kind of, if the ball is in the batter's box, it gives the batter a little bit more leeway.
Yeah.
So, anything that's in the box and the movement associated with trying to get out of the way is going to give the batter the doubt. And it's kind of taken away pitchers throwing in the inside. So it's something that I think, and I want to say this, and I want everybody to hear this, our game, the coaches, the players, and the umpires, we care about college baseball. You know my passion for this sport. Yeah. I've given 32 years, and it hurts me to what happened yesterday, but I just think that there's got to be some get together on all of us on what we want ruled by hit by pitch.
And we'll get Chatter on this, and I appreciate you, my friend, calling in to give us some clarification here. The guy that has been in charge, George DeRushers, for the last 11 years, has been in charge of NCAA umpiring. He is retiring. I would love to see you in that role. I don't know what you're going to do next, whether you enjoy going to ESPN and being the rules analyst on the regionals and the super regionals. So what, in your world, when it comes to college baseball and umpiring, what's some of the challenges that you would like to see addressed to help make the game better or umpires' jobs easier?
Well, I did apply and finished second. Scott Klein's going to take over, and he'll do a great job. I think the game is getting better. I think the relationships between umpires and coaches are better. There has to be the good communication between umpires and coaches and conferences. We deal more with our conferences really than we do with the NCAA. The NCAA doesn't really take over till the postseason, regional, super regionals, and the College World Series. But I think the familiarity of coaches seeing umpires really helps. We've gone away in the postseason where if you're a ACC or a Big 10 or a Big 12 or a SEC guy, you can't work the games behind the plate. Now that happens. You saw Jeff Ed work in LSU and Arkansas. Yeah. So that kind of, the notoriety and familiarity of the coaches seeing you. So this is just something that kind of stuck out yesterday. It's too bad it happened, but I do think that things between coaches and players and umpires are getting a lot better in NCAA baseball, and it's a great game. It's getting talked about, and my phone blew up yesterday, and thank goodness I wasn't on ESPN yesterday because that would have been a tough one. But I do think that the umpiring is very good. Sure. You see the guy, you're up there, you see the TrackMan. Those guys are shooting 95 to 98 on TrackMan, which is pretty darn good. And it's just a situation that got blown up, and we'll look at it and try to get better and see what we could do to, like you guys said, when somebody's coming at you at 6 steps, pointing 3 fingers twice saying you missed 3, what are you supposed to do? How do you keep them in the game without losing, I wouldn't say your authority, but without losing control of the game? And what does that now be able to do from the other dugout? What does that allow them to say?
Hey, Jeff, pace of play, especially early on in the CWS, it seemed like these games were running pretty long. I mean, it took USC and LSU. I know it happened over 2 days, but it took them almost basically 4 hours to play their game. Even though you have the pitch clock in college baseball, it seems like these games at times are dragging out. Do you think there's any obvious fix to that?
That's love Coach Savage. That's a John Savage thing. He'll send the catcher out, talk to him, let him go back, and then walk maybe the slowest walk in baseball from the dugout to the mound.
Sure.
But that comes from John Savage. Jay Johnson learned that, and I'm drawing a blank. He was at USD and now he's at Hawaii. Rich Hill. It's all about the momentum thing where you get a couple base hits together and they're going to slow the momentum down. So that the pitch clock and everything came in from the West Coast teams. We all know that. So that is just one of those things. When you get UCLA, it's going to be a long game because of how he thinks that he can slow the game down.
Hey, my friend, I appreciate it, Jeff Hendricks. I look forward to more of these conversations and you dropping some knowledge to help this sport grow. And I hope we get to see you on ESPN as the rules analyst again.
It was a lot of fun. Being in those lights from 10:15 in the morning till 1:15 in the morning, that's a long game. Holy smokes! Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. And again, we're trying to do everything we can to make college baseball better on all sides. So I appreciate you guys having me on. Listen to you all the time and 3 weeks away. Here we go, huh?
Yeah.
I can't wait for football.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Jeff.
All right, we'll see you guys.
See you, Jeff.
It's a good perspective there from a fellow umpire.
I mean, that's just you can't put the umpire in that situation where he is forced to think about, hey, do I throw this guy out right now in the first inning of the championship series of the
first inning?
But at the same time,
it was the first inning.
So it's funny. We were in the press box and we were talking. All of a sudden everybody became the peanut gallery, right? Yeah. Even if you knew the person, you didn't know the person, everybody started talking to each other about what the hell just happened, what their opinion was, and how many games.
Oh, because
is Kevin Schnall suspended?
Crazy. And the argument and the umpire falling backwards.
One of the LSU radio
LeBron
guys
was at the game yesterday.
Who was at the game yesterday?
LeBron with a flop.
It was dude. He did a full somersault.
Yeah, that's embarrassed from the umpire.
Well, and then I think it was even more embarrassing that then it was, all right, now we're going to give him another game for me falling over. But one of the LSU radio booth guys, I think it was the color commentator because he was built like he was a former athlete, walked out and looked at everybody and goes, he had to have said something else. And then he said, there are very few things that you can say that get you run that quickly. And if you go ahead and you look at the tape, I mean, the camera was on Kevin Schnall the entire time. He said you missed 3 pitches. That's all he said.
I don't know. He's a complicated guy because he did something really cool at the end of the game. So he went and watched the rest of the game back in the clubhouse. They have a TV on. Him and his first base coach. Can you imagine the conversation? Now remember, Mijos hits a home run, so they're up 1-0.
Yeah,
and they're like, okay, they
could do this. You got Morrison on the mound. You got your ace going.
So he had all of his team sit in the dugout out of respect for LSU and watch them celebrate. And then he came back in the dugout and he went down from staff members to players. He hugged or said something to every single player. And then Skip Bertman wanted to meet him. and the legendary LSU head coach who started this run when he won a title in 91 and changed LSU baseball forever. So Skip came up from Baton Rouge yesterday. He was up in a suite. He was sitting next to Ben McDonald, among others. But Skip doesn't get around very well. So he came down to the field, and he's in a just they don't want him on his feet all the time. So he is in a I guess I'll say a scooter. I'm gonna say a wheelchair.
Sure.
And Jay Johnson has a special relationship with him, but Skip wanted to meet Kevin Schnall, and so Schnall came out of the dugout, and he spent some time with Skip.
That's really
so
cool.
It's just I think if he's your head coach, you love him, but I can see how he rubs you the wrong way if you're opposing him. But I just think yesterday he was very irresponsible to his team to put his team in that position that early in a game. We're talking about the bottom of the first inning. Bottom of the first inning.
You said it within, like, if you're fans, if you're a fan of the team, you love them. If you're not a fan of the team, you can't stand them. But there also is kind of the balance of, hey, Coastal Carolina is not there if Kevin Schnall isn't the way that he is. If he doesn't have the chip on his shoulder, right? If he doesn't act and hold his team to standards in which he does. But then there is the other side within his own team where it's like, hey, dude, we need you to win. Like, you have put yourself in a position where we need you as like emotional support, essentially, as the heartbeat of our team. You can't be doing that. You just can't be doing that.
I don't think they didn't handle the emotions very well. Morrison was off from the start. He had pitch comm issues.
Sure.
He didn't look comfortable. But the ejection, the LSU still hit somebody who had not lost all year, and Coastal Carolina couldn't get a big base hit until late in the game. And also, Ianson shoved. I mean,
he was great.
That's the simple part of it.
He was great.
All right, more on this. A lot of people have a reaction to some of the things that Jeff said that we will get into. We will, of course, talk about the NBA yesterday because there was a lot of disrespect going on in the NBA.
There always is a lot of disrespect going on.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God the big moments next year in the NBA that are on ESPN will be handled by Inside the NBA.
Thank God.
They also missed a huge opportunity yesterday on that show. That we'll discuss as well till 10. A little bit later, Evan Bland is going to stop by on Gary and Matt, 1620 The Zone. All right, let me give you a firsthand account of an experience with Moose Roofing. My good friends at Moose Roofing, Pat, Michael, Danny, all of them that do a fantastic job. The MVPs of roofing in Omaha that have been in business for nearly 30 years. And they know your most valuable asset is your home. So this is what they will do. So you are thinking about having your roof replaced and you want to get an estimate. What happens when Moose Roofing comes out to your property is they're going to check all the attic areas, the house, the garage. They're going to take pictures of the problems. Then they're going to explain the issue and the remediation for each. They even will bring shingle examples to show you the differences between each shingle type. They'll give you recommendations on which shingle performs best with ventilation in the attic areas. They do that. They have a passion for their business. They are a bricks and mortar store. They are local, right here in Omaha. They're not on wheels when the storm rolls in. Hey, here comes Moose Roofing. Nope. You'll look all throughout town today and you will see their trucks everywhere as they're doing work. So you need work with your roof, your siding, your gutters. There's only one place to call. That is Moose Roofing. Schedule an inspection today, and it's very easy to do. Go to the website, mooseroofing.com. That website again, mooseroofing.com. All right, LSU fans, your Mardi Gras is up. Time to go home.
Huh. Where you were just talking about that you wanted them to have a bigger Mardi Gras. You wanted them to have a bigger party. Now you want them gone?
Just got a text from somebody who is working the front desk at the Marriott.
Okay.
Like, this is a rough morning for LSU fans as they make their way to the shuttle to go to Epley.
I was
like good on them. They made arrangements to like change flights to get out of here.
There was one guy who told me that he knew somebody who drove down to Kansas City with like a van.
Yeah.
Picked up 6 LSU fans from Kansas City and then drove them up here for Omaha for one night, which is wild to me. They were
everywhere.
They were incredible within the crowd.
They are. When I think of fans at the College World Series, I immediately think of LSU because LSU fans will come here even if their team is not playing.
Yeah.
And I think as Nebraska fans, we can relate more to LSU fans than any other sport, any other team, from the standpoint of they're knowledgeable and they have passion and they'll support their team through and through, whether they're here or not. That's what we do in Nebraska.
You talk about being knowledgeable. They know how to root for baseball. Like there's a certain way to cheer for certain sports. When it's 2 strikes and 2 outs in every inning, they are standing on their feet. They are clapping. Mm-hmm. They're trying to will their pitcher into getting that strikeout to get out of the inning. They understand. Like there were multiple times throughout the series where they had a guy on second, he gets moved over to first, kind of productive out.
Oh, and in the middle of coffin ball?
Yeah, and they're clapping. And they're like, hey, great job.
Yeah,
way to get a productive out.
I wouldn't always be clapping. They bunted yesterday to get to a guy that was 1 for his last 38. Coffin ball was on full display at this year's College World Series. But they also, just like Nebraska football fan, they root for a blue blood program. That also helps. But we got to talk about LSU fans, though, because we saw this. 2 things Saturday night. They don't know how to fight. Okay? They are bad fighters in the stands. Because we had some fisticuffs in the stands over the College World Series, and seemed like there were some LSU fans that were involved. Y'all don't know. Maybe you're lovers. Maybe you're not fighters. You're lovers. Because I saw some guys that tried to fight that were LSU fans, and I don't know if it was what was in your blood, all that alcohol. But, man, you guys need to talk to our champ, Bud Crawford, because y'all don't know how to fight. Okay, your fisticuffs are very, very weak.
So you and I had a very good time together on Saturday. We watched a lot of the game together, and we were out in the concourse. And watching you watch this fight was one of the more entertaining things that I've ever seen, just because I was standing there and I was looking over the top, and you got damn near close to the steps, like you were ready to interview. You were ready to interview these guys coming up, and then they came up. It was 2 men, and they got like pulled to the side from the police officers. And the whole time you were like, "All right, I know one of them. I gotta go up there. I gotta talk to these guys. I gotta figure out what happened." And I was just like, "Dude, like it was a fight. Like people were crying."
Well,
okay?
One of the guys, he was with his 2 kids, and his kids were bawling because the cops had escorted Dad away. Yes, I knew a couple of the police officers.
I thought you were going to take your water bottle and put them right up to the mouth and be like, "What'd you see there? What'd you see? What happened?"
Well, I went over and stood because I just wanted to hear, and just knowing a couple of them, they weren't going to shoo me away. Sure. But then the other thing I did is, that opens up seats for us.
You started telling people. You started looking at people being like, "Hey, by the way, there are some open seats over there. There's 4 of them." I think a couple of guys went down and grabbed them.
So there's another thing that we ran into on Saturday night, and he made TV a lot yesterday. Not T-Bob or Mincy, how about the Raising Cane's owner bought the front row behind the Coastal Carolina dugout to put LSU fans in?
That's a baller move. That is such a baller move.
He is a baller.
He is a baller.
I'm
a baller.
But there's the other thing about passion, and we don't really, like the Nebraska fan base, we don't have that unique. We don't have Mad Mike. Okay, we don't have a fan that stands out that is everywhere. Like we don't have Mr. Bucknuts.
Yeah. What was the guy that robbed banks for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Not Casey Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need that. That's the Chiefs' success. Having a felony super fan leads to a lot of good things.
But LSU fans, they get into it. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And they paint their bodies and they wear the gear, and I love them. So he showed up on TV a lot Saturday and Sunday, and you actually took a selfie with him. So the guy that was dressed as an actual tiger, not the lady we interviewed on the show.
Yeah.
But this
Two
guy,
different Tigers.
yeah, this guy was his body. I think his body was painted.
It wasn't painted.
Okay, so
It was
only his face was painted as a
Yes,
tiger.
It was a
He ha-
suit. I put my hand.
Okay.
I put my
Thank
hand
you.
on the suit.
Thank you.
It was sweaty. He had sweat through that thing. And then what I thought immediately was he able to wash it like really quickly? Like, first off, I thought, is that
Yeah.
thing machine washable? Was my
Yeah.
first question. My second question was, how quickly did he get that done? Because he was in the same outfit the next day.
Yeah, and you said to me immediately, that guy stinks.
He smelled. He smelled so bad.
He was sweating. So he had the tiger shirt on that then looked like tiger stripes, and the only thing that was painted was his face. I noticed that yesterday because his face was running. I was like, my God,
He
it's
looked
so
like
hot.
Sting at the end
Yeah.
of a
Yeah.
WCW Nitro match.
But good, man. I love you, LSU fans. I hope you keep coming back here every single year. And it's okay to bring your baseball team too, because you have a great head coach. He's won 2 times in the last 3 years. And in the portal era of college baseball,
Incredible.
I mean, look what he has done. But the question this morning also has to be about LSU winning their 8th national title. Is Omaha baseball the national champion?
Yes.
Because of
$1,000,000%.
transitive property. People might forget it was weekend number 2 of the college baseball season, and Omaha went into Alex Box, and they were no-hitting LSU, and they won that game.
Jay Johnson said, we played the toughest non-conference schedule in all of the land this season. And immediately I think about it, I go, great for the Mavs. They were a part of that. Jay Johnson was like, yeah, we had to play Omaha. We had to play a team that made it to the Summit League playoffs. That's a tough non-con. They did win that game. And they played them pretty close to the second game.
The first night they lost 4-2. They won the game 5-4. Now, like the third game, they got blown out.
They got rinsed. But.
But yeah, before 10,000 on the 22nd of February.
Print the rings.
Transitive property.
No.
I think Evan Porter won the national championship.
And did Nebraska didn't beat Omaha this year, did they? They lost to Tyler Anderson.
Yep, that was the only game they
That
played.
was the only game they played. Damn
Yeah.
it. Just trying to see if I can get the Huskers to transit.
All right. I wonder if it'll be on the scoreboard when I drive by Tal Anderson today.
We should hang a flag. Absolutely, we should hang a flag. It was absolutely incredible.
But you know how it all is in that system. Like, they're not going to allow you to put up a crown banner. They're not going to allow you to put up the transitive property
Maybe
national
we need
championship.
to put up more banners. That's just our
No.
Well, banners get banners. You know what I'm saying? The more banners you put up, the more banners that leads into, right?
Let's stop something here.
Matt McMaster for participation trophies.
We need to make banners and rings special.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm gonna talk from the Omaha men's basketball standpoint. So there is going to be on opening night of this winter or this fall, Omaha men's basketball is going to have 3 banners that are going to go up in Baxter Arena, and it's going to be pretty damn cool. There also is going to be a ceremony here in a couple of months where we're going to bring back all the fellas, either that are on this year's roster or were on last year's roster, because we're all getting rings, and they're going to be really, really cool. Okay? So that's special.
Congratulations.
We accomplished something really, really big.
Yeah, and so did Nebraska football.
Okay, that's where we're going. So I think there's a reason behind the fact that there has been almost an embargo on putting the Nebraska Pinstripe Bowl ring on Twitter. Like, people taking a picture.
It exists.
But it is, okay. Iowa State had a ring for the Pop-Tart Bowl. I know that for Rule, winning the Pinstripe Bowl was a big deal, and he wanted to reward guys. But I'll let you explain. The top of the ring looks more impressive than the 97 national championship ring.
So
describe the Pinstripe Bowl ring.
It's not on Twitter, but I was
no, because I don't think they want it out there.
But I was sent a picture of the Pinstripe Bowl ring and what it looks like. And let me tell you, it's pretty cookie cutter. Like, it's a pretty simple ring.
Except for the diamonds on top.
It is gorgeous. Okay. It is like, the best way to put it, it's kind of built like a 3-layer cake. There's a big layer of rings around, and then there's like an elevated layer of rings around that, and then there's this big, beautiful red N, and then on the side of it, it has everybody's last name, the Pinstripe Bowl logo, and then the 2 helmets, Boston College and the University in Nebraska's helmet. It is gaudy. It is big.
There's a lot of diamonds.
It is obnoxious. It looks, if you go ahead and you look at like championship rings from the 2010s, it is bigger than those rings. Okay.
It's bigger than the 97 national championship ring.
It is well, a lot of rings nowadays are like, even like graduation rings are bigger than the 97 championship ring.
Well, I know, but remember, I'm into banners and rings matter. Let's don't flood the market. Okay.
We are flooding the market. I can't imagine what a ring would look like if Nebraska made it to the college football playoff or played in like a New Year's Six Bowl. This thing is mad. Now, do you get the ring? You only get the ring if you win, right? You don't get the ring if you lose. Yeah. Okay. So
and you have to understand this. So there's a little backstory here. The Pinstripe Bowl was very emotional to rule because of guys that stuck around and guys that played, and they gave him 2 years when they could have bailed after the first year. So emotionally, that was like a huge thing to him. And so he is rewarding guys for that accomplishment.
Yeah.
But do you think there's a reason why this has not gotten out there?
You know why? Because everybody's going to say.
They told players not to take a picture?
I think so. I don't know that for sure. Yeah. I haven't been told that.
Keep this internal. This is just for us.
I would think so, because you know what the discourse will be. Oh my God, how far the mighty have fallen. Oh. The fact that we are making these big rings for a 7-6 season, the fact that we are celebrating, there are going to be people who are going to say, we're celebrating losing this amount of close games. We're celebrating what we did against Iowa. We're celebrating how we lost against UCLA at home. We're celebrating getting blown out against Indiana. That's why they're not releasing it. I understand. Hey, and it's pretty standard. Like, I had a buddy who was a reserve on Washington State's football team back in like 2018, 2017, when they won the Alamo Bowl, right? It wasn't like a national championship. It wasn't like a massive bowl game or anything like that. They gave him a ring though for winning. Like, that is kind of what they do.
I'm looking to see if
it's not on Twitter.
I know it's not because
but
I'm looking to see if when Nebraska last went to a bowl game before,
if they got a ring,
if they got a ring, I don't recall they got a ring.
They
you know what? They may have gotten a watch.
See, I think that's pretty
cool. A watch that was separate from the Music City Bowl.
That would be,
but they also didn't win that game.
Well, if you get a watch, and then you put the logo within the watch, and then everyone's like, hey, I was here for when we did this, and this is a special edition. There's only so many of these that exist. I think that would be a pretty cool collector's item. That's the thing, though, about a ring. When are these guys ever going to wear this ring? Like, when is this ring ever going to get taken out of the capsule? Yeah. Like, even if you're a player, do you really want to go around and show off your 7-6 Pinstripe Bowl victory over Boston College? Especially with this team, with this program, with the history that it has. Like, okay, when they go to a Husker football alumni event, right? And they see all of these guys from the 80s and the 90s, and they all have their own Orange Bowl rings and their national championship rings and everything they accomplished. You think they're putting on a Pinstripe Bowl ring and they're walking up to Tommy Frazier being like, hey, how about that, huh? Look at that. You like that? You like how big that one is? Mine's bigger than yours. Tommy, you wish you could have a ring like this, right? That's not happening. Right? They're not walking around campus with a Pinstripe Bowl ring on.
No. I think it's internal.
It's an internal thing.
But we need to give more meaning to rings and banners. Like,
no, I think that Omaha winning the Transitive Property National Championship deserves a banner.
Are we going to have to tear?
There's only so many teams that beat LSU this year. Let's be real. Like, that is an accomplishment. You beat a team that lost, 14 times?
It was like so long ago. That was back on the 22nd of February.
I'm pretty sure I was at a Nebraska basketball game that day, and they did that. And it was like, oh, my God, good for Omaha. Look at them.
Huh? All right, we'll take a break and come back.
Pinstripe Bowl ring. I get it, but I just know these guys they're not going to wear it, Gary. Why would you wear it?
We couldn't get a chasing 3 to wrap up the year.
Well, that was a whole other thing.
By the way, he's doing work at Central Florida.
Awesome.
Yeah,
he is.
That's a big loss.
By the way, the minute he got to campus, they were like, this kid is incredibly talented, and he became super trusted within the program.
Yeah. That
Good
one,
guy too. Very nice.
really, really good guy. But can somebody pick it up and like let's just wrap up the 2024 season?
I don't think they want to.
I bet there is some great stuff that was recorded behind the scenes of the Pinstripe Bowl.
The amount of work that goes into doing that,
but they've hired some now new, very creative people.
But it is kind of, wouldn't you tell the difference between when he left and somebody else picked it up and did it again? Like there's two different. It's like the Snyder Justice League movie. You know, it's like you can tell what Snyder did and what Snyder didn't do.
Can they not ask Jordan just to do one more?
Hey, Lit, can you finish this?
Jay Lit, one just
one
on your
more.
side.
Just I know you're doing a lot for the Knights, but we just need to wrap this up. We just need a post production.
And so one quick thing on him. He has a connection to Scott Frost. So
yes,
Frost hired him to come to Orlando. I noticed that he's doing the same thing, but the videos are shorter.
Oh,
yeah, they're not as long as like the Chasing 3. They're still really, really good.
Sure. Oh, okay.
All right.
That's interesting. That was kind of his thing. That was kind of like the long form video was his thing.
All right. Matt got me to do something in the College World Series that I'll remember forever. And also, when you have weather like yesterday, there's one thing you should not do.
Drink.
Don't
beer?
spit into the wind and don't do something else.
Okay.
We're back with more Gary and Matt after this. All right. In terms of recruiting for the class of 26, today there are two that will be announcing their decision. Danny Odom, 4-star, according to 24/7, cornerback from Florida, Penn State, Ohio State, Clemson, Oklahoma, and Nebraska. He's at 4 o'clock Central Time. And then Jamal Rule, no relation, spelled different, but it is interesting that he's from Charlotte. He is a running back that at 5:30 today will announce that he's going to Nebraska. So those are two things to watch. Hey, did you have fun explaining this to someone in Oklahoma? That you would win an NBA World Championship before you'd win another national championship in football.
That is crazy to think about. So what year, like if
2001,
you tell them in 05?
You weren't even thinking, hey, we might get an NBA team
Wait,
someday.
how are they getting a team?
I don't, I don't
Expanding
think,
here?
and maybe Jimmy,
steal a team?
you would know this better than
I was
than
alive
would.
then, yes.
Well, I was too. But when Oklahoma City,
You were 2, though.
no, not was it 04 they moved to Oklahoma City? What year did they move? to
Oh, I
Oklahoma
thought
City?
you were saying you were 2.
No.
They moved in 08.
Or no, 08. So in 08, did Oklahoma City know that they were going to get an NBA team until Bennett just dropped the NBA team right on their head?
They were enjoying the Oklahoma City Blazer hockey team. What was the name of their CBA team?
I don't remember. I just know they played at the Myriad.
John Baylor and I, and that's, by the way, is going to be the new site of their new arena.
Mm-hmm.
John Baylor and I went to a CBA game in Oklahoma City, and all they did was played music the entire friggin' game. This was like 99. Seriously, they played music the entire game.
It's a damn shame, though, that the current Oklahoma City Thunder arena is called Paycom Center, because when it was Chesapeake Bay Arena, oh my God.
OGs will know it as the Ford Center forever.
Okay. Yes.
I loved the Peak, though. You play at the Peak? Oh,
I miss Oklahoma City. When Nebraska, you'd have to make trips down there for the Big 12 baseball tournament. You play at Bricktown, and that's right in the area where the Thunder play. I mean, Oklahoma City has grown a lot. I really liked it, but man, they've got young core. They just won the world championship.
They're bringing back everybody,
and they've got all these assets. They're going to get a brand new arena. I mean, it's not bad to be a Thunder fan.
A little interesting twist here, though. So Miles Turner is going to need a new contract.
Yeah. And
when he signs a new contract, Indiana is going to have to go over the luxury tax, which
haven't they committed to?
They
said they want to. They will.
I don't know if they've committed to doing it, but they haven't done that before. Indiana doesn't do that, and I think it's going to be interesting now that you have Halliburton out with an Achilles injury, and you don't know if he's going to be the same.
True.
Do you pull back on that a little bit and say, are we really going to commit to Miles Turner when we don't know if his point guard is ever going to be the same again? And by the way, if we commit to Miles Turner, we know the fact now that we won't be able to compete with him for another 2 years because Halliburton isn't going to be in. I don't think people understand the significance of the true significance of Tyrese tearing his Achilles yesterday. I mean, because Indiana goes from almost winning the NBA title, being storybook, everyone's underdog, Cinderella, to they got to make some real basketball decisions now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they were thinking, even if we don't win the title, we still can parlay this into having a momentum into next year, which this will be a crazy free agency. Now they're like, I think they're kind of twiddling their thumbs, being like, this might be our coup de grace. That might have been our best moment.
Hey, you might want to research this about Nebraska having a pinstripe bowl ring.
Sure.
I wonder if it's the bowl that provides rings to the winning team, because it seems like there is everybody that has won the pinstripe bowl recently has a ring. So the pinstripe bowl actually might have paid for Nebraska's bowl rings. Two things. One, the weather we had yesterday. If you are in, your home state listening today, if you find some confetti from the championship last night, it belongs to us. Blowing confetti into a 40-mile-an-hour wind, not great. And also,
probably not the best logistical move.
Also, I want to thank you, because as people that are watching on the stream, I got a rope hat. I am one of the kids.
You caved. You caved. You knew it was a good-looking hat, and I strategically continued to buy rope hats to kind of rub it in. Now you've joined the dark side.
I'm a rope hatter.
Well, did you see what the NBA Finals hat was?
Yes, I did.
A default rope hat?
I know.
Rope hats are now in the default setting.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just a style. Come on now. By the way, everybody like my black shirt hat with my Ndamukong Suh patch. Look at that. This might be the sexiest hat that I own. This is the classic.
Well, at least it's a team that you root for. All right. Evan Bland's going to join us in 30 minutes.
Always comes back to
on
that.
1620 The Zone.
Hey, we want to thank our title sponsors of Gary and Matt, AGR Roofing and Construction. You can go to agrroofingandconstruction.com right now and schedule your first free inspection, local quality service, AGR Roofing and Construction.
All right, hour number 3, Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald will join us at the bottom of the hour. We'll put a recap on the College World Series.
I like your hat. Now I'm just looking at the hat.
Thank you.
Maybe if it had a. I like the red rope. You know, the red rope kind of comes out of nowhere. You'd think maybe it'd be a black rope.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just looks like you got a Twizzler on your head right now. I'm a big fan of it.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
I like Twizzlers.
You Twizzler or Red Vine guy? I know that there's
I'm always going to go back to the OG, but I will dabble with some Red Vine.
I don't like liquor.
I didn't know anything about Red Vine until I visited a
movie theater.
Out in California.
Oh, really?
First place I ever saw Red Vines was out in California.
I didn't know that there was like another. I just thought Twizzler was a Twizzler, and then I saw the Red Vines at a movie theater one day.
Oh man, I twizzled it up when I was young. I would bite off the top and the bottom and use.
You did what?
I twizzled it up when I was young, so I'd bite off the top and the bottom and use it as a straw.
Really?
Yeah, when you were a kid in Des Moines or Urbandale,
I've never done that.
You'd go to Happy Joe's for your birthday party. You'd spill a bunch of pitchers of pop, but everybody in the red cup, the familiar red cup,
was it a good
you
straw?
Would use Twizzler. Oh yeah, and it was great. It was unique.
What would you be drinking out of your Twizzler straw? Was there a certain
like Coke,
Coca-Cola,
like Coke,
just a regular Coke? Okay.
Yeah.
I was did you have the nerd rope then?
I did not have it then.
The nerd rope was like that took over for Twizzler in my generation. It was absolutely incredible. It was like a foot long rope, and it was like the gummy, but then you would put a bunch of nerds on it. Oh my God, I could feel my teeth cracking, like biting onto the nerd rope right now.
People are asking today, because many are.
A lot of people asking a lot of things.
What do we do now? The College World Series is over. The NBA Finals is over. What do we do now?
A lot of people are saying we're screwed.
What do we do now? Well, you know what? Hey, this is a Caitlin Clark night.
Yeah. Wasn't
Storm
2 nights ago a Caitlin Clark night? And
yes,
lost?
it is. But now we got nothing except for a little 9 Major League Baseball games.
So
but it's a Caitlin Clark night tonight. So if you're asking, what do we do now? The College World Series is over. Do y'all in Omaha just shut her down till next year?
Hey, take a break.
Yeah, we stopped shooting people.
Just
another shooting at 16th and Coming.
Maybe.
Omaha police are so glad to like shoo some people out of here. Now, not saying they are the reason.
Sure.
But it's starting to get warm. Things are heating up. There's heat on the streets.
Shout out OPD this week.
But
seriously, they did a really good job.
But it's listed as on the news.
Yeah.
Let me just read this. So 16th and Coming is not Charles Schwab Field.
Oh no, it's away from it.
One person critically injured in a shooting near Charles Schwab Field.
Well,
16th and Coming.
You're what?
Like 3 blocks.
You're like 4 blocks away because it's like 12th and Coming is about that light is where you get there right before the tracks. I think you could say near. I think you could say near Charles Schwab.
I mean,
Field.
that's an automatic clickbait.
No,
oh my God! Well, Omaha is a dangerous place for the College World Series.
Wouldn't 16th and Coming technically be closer to Creighton's campus than Charles Schwab Field?
It's like in between.
So you could. Well, it's the CWS week, right?
Well, okay. So if school was in session, would you say it's near the Creighton campus?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Because
it's CWS week.
Better headliners.
They put Charles Schwab Field. If this was like just in November, right? It would be like Creighton's campus got hit again. Shooting near there. You got to be careful. That's what they would say.
So part of yesterday, and good on LSU for winning another national championship. We love LSU.
You want a stat? You want a little nugget?
Give me a nugget.
Jay Johnson, in his first 4 seasons at LSU, has won 2 titles. No other coach has
won. Why
don't
you say 2 in the last 3 years?
Well,
I think that's more impressive.
I just wanted. This is just what I read because it was just like
not research read.
Well, yeah, I read this. This was a stat that was given to me. Well, here's why it is because it's not 2 in the last 3 years. It's the first 4 seasons of him coaching. He's coaching somewhere. He's won 2 titles.
Yeah.
Nobody has done that within 8 seasons.
Okay.
That's why it's like so significant. Guys have been in a place for 8 years. They can't win 2 titles. He's done it in 4.
I'll give you a couple other nuggets. Ready?
Is this researched or read?
Huh? This is researched.
Okay.
This is all up here underneath the rope hat. So
that sounds like a really good band for Gen Z.
Underneath the rope hat.
Underneath the rope hat. Behind the rope hat.
So baseball is like the margin of error is very, very slim. What happens if the right fielder at Michigan State makes a catch?
Yeah. What happens if Arkansas left fielder makes a catch?
Yeah. LSU was 12 outs from being eliminated at their own ballpark in the regional by Little Rock.
Yeah.
Then they ran off 8 straight victories. They went 10-1 in the postseason. That's my stat. Now I'm going to give you, because this is right up your alley, is in the Mixed Sports book.
Sure.
This is a Rob Anderson stat. People will say that if you're in bracket 2, it's not easy because you have less days off than if you're in bracket 1, which is the Friday games compared to the Saturday game. That the 4 of the last 5 national champions have won game 8, which is the late game on Monday night, which means you are in bracket 2 and you are 2-0 in bracket 2. So there are 2 things to watch next year. Put this in the Mixed Sports book.
Okay.
The teams that have the best whip are going to win their bracket, and the team that, according to Rob Anderson, wins game 8 has won 4 of the last 5 national titles. So do all of that. Get me some formula, can you?
I can. No,
Okay.
I can put that together. I do want to ask you something because you said it off air in passing, and I've been thinking about it. You're a whip guy.
I love my whip.
You are one of the smartest baseball minds that I've met.
Whoa.
You are. I haven't met many.
You're very gracious.
I haven't met many.
And you're lying, but okay.
It's you.
Met
it's
you.
you versus Jesse Rogers. So it's. I mean, you're winning. You're winning that battle, soldier. But you love whip. You talk about whip.
I think in
believe
college
whip.
baseball, whip is important.
Why? So can you? I just want you to expand a little bit. I just want you to enlighten me, enlighten the audience. Is it just that's a common denominator that you found throughout the years?
Power pitching now is
Sure.
power pitching's kind of taken over college baseball. Walks and hits coincide to me a little bit more in college baseball because runners on base creates havoc.
Yeah.
I think you fail more in college baseball than you do in the pros just because they're professionals.
Great point.
So putting people on base, whether it be walks or hits, I think that's a big, when I differentiate who I think is good,
Sure.
because less traffic on the bases is better.
So you brought this up when you were doing color commentary for the Louisville, Arizona game, and it was a great point where Louisville, during that blow-up inning from Arizona, they just get guys on base, and then they make you make plays.
Yeah.
They make you make mistakes. And so that's interesting. I think you're totally right. I just wanted to get that insight from you.
Congratulations, LSU. Here's another stat for you.
We should get you a rope hat that says whip guy.
I would do that.
Or just get you an Indiana
What was our
Jones
guy's name
hat.
from Patched?
Harrison.
Harrison
loved you. He will set like, oh
Really?
yeah. Oh, he'll
He's
he'll
got
set you up.
he's got a great business. Those
He
are good people.
he told us, he goes, we started this a year ago, and I'm like, you've had the most popular stand.
So
They outlasted the the travel league
Nice.
baseball tents.
Harper Murray was at the College World Series yesterday. Interesting crew. So I get the brand. Okay, a lot of stuff is done in public for your brand, so I'm accepting that. So Rocco Spindler, Dylan, who, if you wanted to interview Dylan yesterday, he was going to make himself available.
We're fine. Okay.
The head coach, and then Harper Murray. So Harper Murray has an NIL deal with Patched,
Yes.
and she's going to start doing customized hats, which little young girls and the volleyball fan, anything that team wears,
Oh my God.
they have to have. Her NIL deal with a ball cap, and remember, he told the story about this started from his wife and her boutique, and how
yeah.
women would like to have hats.
Customization.
I can guarantee you that NIL deal with Harper Murray is going to blow up.
Genius. Because now, and if kids like anything more than anything, it's customizing. I
Yeah.
remember as
Oh,
a
yeah.
kid, the Build-A-Bear workshop, right?
Still exists.
You go to Build-A-Bear.
Things are friggin' expensive,
They're
man.
super expensive, but here's why it was so big. It wasn't big. You could buy the Beanie Baby stuffed animals for nothing
Yeah.
at Barnes & Noble, but you got to Build-A-Bear workshop doll because you got to go to the store. You got to pick out your Build-A-Bear. You got to pick out the gender and what it looked like and the color. Then they stuffed it up in front of you. Then you got to pick out your own outfit, right?
Yeah.
It was all about customization. We are now in the minimalistic society where you can do it with a hat. You don't need a big old
Yeah.
teddy bear anymore. And like girls of all ages, even just everybody. I saw a middle-aged man. I told you this off the air. middle-aged man. He made an awesome football Nebraska Go Big red hat just on his own. It just looked like a sick hat that people would be like, "Where'd you get that from?" I mean, that's going to explode.
That will be a monster NIL deal for her. But
and for Harrison.
LSU, as y'all leave our town today, and we hope you come back soon.
No Zesco's picture part 2?
No. I've not seen that. My cop friends, man, were stressed out. This College World Series,
really?
Like, yeah.
Well, then you had
It wasn't
too.
just the College World Series. Yeah, you had the protests, which were peacefully at least, but they were stressed out because there's a lot of stuff. There's heat on the streets, and it has nothing to do with the College World Series. You got a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
But as LSU fans leave today, 40% of the time that LSU has come to Omaha, they've won a national title.
That is crazy.
That's insane.
Wild.
Now, their one this year may be remembered because of this. So let me read you, and if you missed it, Jeff Hendricks,
great
former
interview.
professional umpire, high-ranking college umpire, rules analyst for ESPN, was on the show right after 7 o'clock to explain what happened yesterday between Kevin Schnell and Angel Campos. Did you happen to read? Coastal Carolina put out a statement about this. So there was a rumor that the athletic director for Coastal Carolina got thrown out of the ballpark. That was not true.
Okay.
This is from Coastal Carolina. They put this statement out during the game. I believe during the game, or it was shortly after the game ended.
I see the statement
Quote,
here now.
The ejections of head coach Kevin Schnall and assistant coach Matt Schilling in the bottom of the first inning drastically altered the trajectory of a must-win game for our team. These decisions were made with an alarming level of haste, without an attempt at de-escalation, and deprived our student-athletes of the leadership they have relied on throughout the historic postseason run. This is not about a single call. It's about process and professionalism. In the biggest moment of the college baseball season, our program and its student-athletes deserve better. That was from Coastal Carolina.
Well,
do you think that there will be some repercussion? I don't know. Usually it's a conference thing. Like the Sun Belt, if you did this, if you went after the umpires or officials or whatever, the Sun Belt would zing you. This is the NCAA. Will there be any repercussion? That statement just isn't like, that statement is like, hello.
Can I read you one more sentence from it? It's right where you left off. They say the NCAA must reevaluate how it trains, assigns, and reviews umpires in championship environments. We expect consistency. You were like questioning the integrity and base of how the NCAA handles their officials. Look, I'm not going to sit up here and act as if Angel Campos was completely in the right, but he wasn't completely in the wrong. When I say to you, hey man, you got a warning for balls and strikes, that does not warrant you to continue to go out toward, like aggressively, by the way, walk out there and say it. Now, should he have been thrown out? I don't think he should have been thrown out personally, but at the same time, he shouldn't have done what he did, right? He put himself in that situation.
Bad on both sides.
Yes.
So there's more to this statement. This is how it finishes. Well, so we expect consistency, communication, and the same level of excellence from officials that we demand from our teams. Our players have represented this university, this conference, and college baseball with integrity and heart. They deserved the opportunity to compete for a national championship with their leaders and were denied that opportunity today.
I just wonder what if Kevin Schnall doesn't get thrown out there, right, in that moment, what happens, right?
The stadium that is not wearing gold is all in on Coastal Carolina. But once LSU took the lead and that ballpark is full of LSU fans, then it became, all right, they're going to crush it.
I've never seen a surrender cobra from fans after their manager gets ejected. There were multiple surrender
You were there. We were both in the ballpark yesterday. It sucked the life out of the stadium.
So, but here's my thing, though. If Angel Campos doesn't right then and there throw out Kevin Schnall, Kevin Schnall continues to walk, would continue to walk to Campos, right? And continue to talk to him. What happens if he just keeps yelling at him three pitches, like, I don't think Kevin Schnall was coming down at all from his frustration.
Bottom of the first inning. Yeah, at some point they're gonna have to lose that chip on the shoulder.
You have to balance it.
Well, both sides do. I mean, both.
Sure.
It was a bad look on both sides, and it kind of. I mean, what do you want to talk about? What LSU did yesterday? What stands out about LSU? Ianson, maybe?
Oh yeah,
or the fact that on Angel Campos's mask they had the camera, and you can see that when Shores is throwing 101 miles an hour, what it looks like. There's no really discussion about, hey, LSU did this.
Well,
I mean, Ianson pitched well. The story is the bottom of the first. No, Saturday night was about Cade Anderson.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the first go around with Cade Anderson on Saturday, it just seemed like, all right, yeah, he pitched good. Like, it just wasn't that first game they played on Saturday on the second day of the series. There was a ton of excitement for it, and then it didn't live up to like the excitement within the ballpark, in my opinion. But I just think this entire time I kind of mentioned this when we were talking before the championship series. When you have the standard in which LSU has in terms of having these big bats and these superstars and all of these well-known names, it's hard to live up to that even when you have an incredible team. And I think that this LSU team was battling that in terms of they had Cade Anderson, but there were some. Dylan Cruz was a massive name. Skeens was a massive name. Tommy Tanks, massive name. And so I don't think enough people gave them that credit because they didn't have those name brand names. But they returned 12 guys from last year's team to this year's team and won a national championship off the backs of transfer portal players and freshmen. Nothing short of incredible what they did.
Bob is right about Cade Anderson. He goes, you knew that LSU was going to win the national championship when on Saturday night, Cade Anderson was double fisting churros in the dugout.
He like sucks the life out of a ballpark because he's so damn good at pitching. He just doesn't give you anything. He'll give up a double and then he'll strike out the next two batters. And you're like, oh, all right, whatever. Like, he was off. He was quote unquote off.
Yeah, he was.
And he went 9 innings.
Yeah, he said it was not pretty. 130 pitches in your last fastball was 95? Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, pretty good.
All right, when we come back, so we're going to do a comparison.
Oh, I like comparison.
Between college football programs and their equivalent in the NFL.
Nice.
Can you find one for Nebraska? Because I have one for USC, and then I have a program that I don't think there's a comp in the NFL.
Okay.
We're going to do that. Evan Bland will join us before the hour is over. His recap on what he saw yesterday at the College World Series and throughout, I think we agree, good College World Series.
Good.
History was made. And what's going on with Nebraska baseball? We said the portal don't close till July 1. Hello. Yeah. Andy Jackson's boyfriend can't get into Nebraska. So he's going to Creighton.
Is that what's happening?
Yes.
Actually?
Yes.
How can you not get into Nebraska?
Good point.
Like, it's an 81% acceptance rate.
Crazy stuff is happening. All right, that's coming up before the hour is over on 1620 The Zone. Congratulations, former Creighton basketball player Grant Gibbs gets a ring, NBA ring with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Congrats.
And former longtime guest on the show, Joel Lorenzi, who was at the World Herald covering the Creighton beat, leaves because he wants to cover the NBA, gets hired by the Daily Oklahoman.
Nice.
And now he just covered an NBA champion. So congratulations to both of those guys. So I had this discussion because this is what you do at the College World Series. We could have done this on our show on Saturday, but we were like, hey, oh.
Suck that. Bang.
Your mic cut out there. Could you
Sorry.
repeat it?
You want to do it again?
No. I don't know any part the rest of the song. I just know the hey oh
suck that tiger.
Call them Baton Rouge. So if I told you comparing college football programs to NFL, I said the USC Trojans are the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I think that's
of college football. Okay. All right. So I'm 1 for 1.
Yeah.
Could I tell you that the Alabama Crimson Tide are the Kansas City Chiefs?
I would say that the Alabama Crimson Tide are actually closer to the New England Patriots.
Okay.
Because I think that the Patriots now, it's way, way worse of a downfall.
Yeah.
But Alabama is going through a weird transition without their former Hall of Fame coach and over a decade and a half of success. I would say that Georgia is closer to Kansas City.
Speaking of their former head coach, what happens first? Bill Belichick wins an ACC title, or he has a son.
No.
Okay.
No.
No to both?
No to both.
Okay.
I hope he doesn't have a kid.
The Ohio State Buckeyes are the Philadelphia Eagles.
I can get on board because the Eagles have had, honestly, the Eagles have not had bad seasons, that many bad seasons since like Andy Reid was there. I mean, they've been able to consistently win with different head coaches. So I'll take that.
05 in Jacksonville, they were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Okay.
I think Ohio State and Philly is actually your best one so far.
Now, what if I compared Nebraska?
I have Nebraska.
To the Washington Redskins Commandos.
What is on my screen
whatever the
right
hell
now?
they're called?
What's on my screen?
I don't know. I can't see that far.
It's the Washington.
I need readers.
It's Washington Commanders records. I was looking to make this better comparison. They are absolutely the Washington Commanders.
So when
minus a year ago, because the Commanders, made the NFC Championship game. So we remove last year. It's a perfect comparison.
So 83, 88, 92. The Super Bowl championships for for Washington.
So 80. You're right. It's 87 season, 91 season, 83 Super Bowl, 92 Super Bowl.
So in the year when the Super Bowl was played.
Yes, you're correct. 83.
So they
92.
haven't won a Super Bowl since the Super Bowl at the Metrodome in 92.
Yes.
When they beat Buffalo.
Yes. When they went 14-2 that year.
And they've had some dysfunction. They've also had some good teams.
They also have a whole stadium thing going on as well.
And now they've got this superstar quarterback, and there's a lot of optimism.
Sure.
In the nation's capital.
They've had young quarterbacks that you're very, very excited about that played well in their own right, but you weren't able to parlay that into wins.
Mm-hmm.
RG3, Adrian Martinez, kind of similar in that regard. Like, now, Adrian didn't have as brutal of injuries as Robert Griffin III did, but still had plenty of injuries too.
Pete says Georgia would be the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, for sure. Georgia and KC, New England and Alabama, Ohio State, and Philadelphia.
Who would Texas be in their equivalent in the NFL? The Texas Longhorns.
The Cowboys. I think they'd be the Cowboys. Because Texas has, like, the Cowboys have had plenty of success winning in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
They've had plenty of success, like, being relevant and fielding good teams. They just haven't been able to break through that glass ceiling and be on the level of the elite franchises. I think Texas definitely has been able to be competitive and win games and be pretty consistent. They did have that one kind of like 3-year rough stretch back in the 2010s. But I think those are pretty similar in the fact of success that's met with consistent winning, but hasn't been able to recapture that entire success.
So ironically, two teams that played for a national championship 20 years ago, USC and Texas, would be compared to the current day Dallas Cowboys.
Yes. I think they're very similar. And I think that you could probably say more so I think the USC comparison is closer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe could you say that the Denver Broncos and the Texas Longhorns are fairly similar? Because I think
that Denver won what are we 9 years ago?
They won
out in Santa Clara when they won the Super Bowl against Carolina.
I think Denver's a very interesting franchise that gets overlooked in the fact that they had some success, about 30 years ago, and then they've had some up and down, like weird years, but then it was met by you had 4 years where they were the best team around.
Who would be the equivalent of the San Francisco 49ers in today's current college football?
Ooh. Michigan.
Okay.
Because they went through. Well, what did the 2000s? That was kind of forgettable for the 49ers. But I think in recent success, both teams had some low years, which then were propped up by really good coach. Then they got really good coaches. They were able to build something and consistently be at the top of the league. Both of them so the San Francisco 49ers both times make the Super Bowl and then have a letdown year. Kind of happened with Michigan too, right? They win the national championship. Their next season kind of a letdown. So I don't know if I could give you, I don't know if in the full, in a 40-year history, Michigan and San Francisco are there, but I think in the last 15 years, they're fairly similar. Success, some low times met with success.
See, they've two of the last 6 Super Bowls the Niners have been in and they've lost.
Yeah.
And then
Michigan's been
now we're what? We're a little 12 years when they got beat at the Superdome.
Yeah.
By the Ravens.
Yeah. Would you think that's pretty close, or would you?
Well, let's bring Baltimore in. The equivalent in college football, the Baltimore Ravens, really good.
Penn State,
really good. Really good. That's
Penn State.
I like where you're going there. They're really good every year, but can't get over the top.
For sure, Penn State, because Baltimore hasn't given up winning. They haven't had any of those low years. And Penn State
James
hasn't.
Franklin is successful, but the narrative would change considerably if he ever won a national title, which might be this year. Same with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is one of the best, and he hasn't gotten over the top. But look at how, and I already hold Lamar Jackson in high regard, so I'm speaking as a big picture. Lamar Jackson with a Super Bowl ring, how people would look at Lamar Jackson, because he already has the MVPs.
That's great. Take John Harbaugh's Super Bowl ring away from him. How is he different from James Franklin? Coach could coach. Mm-hmm. You give Lamar Jackson a ring.
I don't know that James Franklin can squat 400.
That's a good point.
Which John Harbaugh did over the weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
He's not young. That's impressive. That's incredible.
Whoa, why do you got it? Why do you got to get
this older foot? 400 pounds at 20 years. He's not 20 or 30 years old.
Age is only a number.
I will never be able to squat 400 pounds my entire
Kevin
life.
Schnall is 48. You don't shoe a 48-year-old.
I wasn't shoeing him. I was just saying that's impressive.
You were shoeing older people.
I'm not shoeing older people.
You said the other day that 32-year-old must be old. I'm like, oh, God.
In sports, a 32-year-old is considered
Have you
old.
not seen Tom Brady?
Okay, well, there's you can name 3 people, but I've seen
Julio Franco.
Hey, you saw Kemba Walker at 32.
Otis Nixon. Otis Nixon might be the oldest player ever to play, and he looked like he was 65.
I saw James Johnson play the other day. He is still not. I think he just got to 40. No, if Lamar were so, I'll say it. I don't give a damn. Lamar Jackson wins a Super Bowl. He's a top 10 quarterback of all time. He's got the statistics. He has the MVPs. He has the iconic moments. He has the incredible highlight plays. If he wins a Super Bowl, he's a top 10 quarterback of all time.
So let me go before we go to break. And Jimmy, this is your team, so this is in your wheelhouse. This is a good email
mediocre.
from This is a good email from Chris. And this NFL college comparison. These are great College World Series topics when you're sitting around.
Oh, they're great.
He says Nebraska equals the Dallas Cowboys. Nebraska last won a complete national championship in 95.
Both
Cowboys, of course, in
championships.
95. No, here we go. This is a really good email. Nebraska and Dallas both have had 6 head coaches since their last championship, not counting interim head coaches.
That's a great poll.
Nebraska fans celebrate being a blue blood in TV ratings the same way Cowboy fans celebrate being America's team and the same TV ratings.
So I think
Thank you, Chris.
Chris, great email.
I've always thought they were the same. I thought they were similar back then too.
I think if you're comparing fan bases, right, I think that's pretty spot on. I think you just have to give the Cowboys a little bit more credit for making the postseason and having a lot more regular season success over the last 10 years.
Those are participation
Now,
wins. They don't mean anything.
You
won the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, is 12 wins in the NFL equivalent to 9 wins in college football?
Jimmy,
12 wins is fantastic.
Jimmy, we're comparing two different franchises.
I know. I'm just saying your
Nebraska.
opinion of my team is way higher than my team. But continue.
Well, I mean, it's because my team never wins, and so I think that what your team has done, I would kill to have in that regard. Right? I would love for 12-win seasons, but all this to say, I think that Nebraska just hasn't had the recent success anywhere. Like anywhere. Nebraska's had very limited success in the last 10 seasons. Dallas has had some. Okay? It's had some. It's had some success winning games and making the playoffs.
Hey, man.
But I think Washington is perfect.
If that's a catch in Green Bay, that whole franchise is different.
God.
Yeah, they lose at Seattle the next week. People forget that.
I knew that was coming.
It was a catch. It was a catch.
It was.
I'll never get over that.
Then
I'm
again,
thinking,
I still
hey,
think there's plenty
real
of
quick,
time
before
left to
we go-
play. Aaron could have found a way to win the game anyway.
Before we go to break, who's Clemson? I can't think of a Clemson. I can't really think of like like
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
okay. I can get with that. I can get minus. Yeah, I can get with that. I like that.
Evan Bland.
That's good.
We'll stop by next on 1620 The Zone. All right, the College World Series for 2025 has come to an end. The SEC has won 6 in a row. And now football is here. Evan Bland is ready to transition today. He'll have a 30,000 worder in the paper tomorrow on Nebraska football. Just kidding. Don't want to put you to work because you've done enough work at the College World Series. Good morning, Mr. Bland.
Morning, guys. Yeah, it'll be closer to 25,000.
I quizzed Matt on this. Jeff Gluck, who covers NASCAR, he'll always have a poll at the end of a race. Was this a good race? So was this a good College World Series from your standpoint in finding storylines and enough stuff to write about?
Yes, I think so. It was a diverse field. You had the underdog. You had Coastal, which sort of, I think, represents what could be a little bit of a sea change in college baseball. When you talk about smaller programs that are going to maybe invest more in that sport as opposed to football or whatever else, you had LSU and SEC dominance that did its thing. And I thought we had some really entertaining games too. I mean, obviously the Gage Wood no-hitter was historically great, but the Arkansas LSU elimination game for the Hogs was memorable as well. And I thought really both championship games, even though it was LSU in 2, had their own kind of special moments as well. I mean, we had the Cade Anderson game and then sort of the ejection game that people are going to remember from that. So ultimately it was the minimum number of College World Series games that could be played. It didn't set an attendance record, but I did think that some of the games were very, very solid in their own rights. And as we move into that rev share era next year, maybe this is a field that we look back on fondly as one of the more diverse and can kind of show you what's still possible when it looked like maybe this was going to fall into sort of an SEC, ACC only event.
Evan, this is my 4th time interviewing you in the last 7 days.
I'm so sorry.
It's no. It's been great talking with you. By the way, I don't know if Gary knows this. Evan and I have been getting rave reviews for our interviews because we have now turned them into bits.
Yes.
Josh asked him only baseball questions. I asked him only football questions. Yesterday, I used movie references to lead up into asking you questions, which you did a phenomenal job with. I'm going to ask you about baseball. I'm just going to give you a normal interview today. Is it safe to say, I'm just going to give you a blanket statement. You say if you agree with this or not. This College World Series was your best shot at making the CWS from here on until what we see in the future when it comes to college baseball.
For
just general teams, just in general. Like if you were just a non-SEC teams, this was your best shot to make it because it's only going to get tougher.
I mean, I think so. But you still look around and you still see there were 13 SEC teams in the NCAA tournament field. You had, what was the ACC number 9, something like that. So, I mean, those are still pretty big sizable numbers. And a lot of those teams, I think still, I mean, we talk about like NIL for football and how a lot of it wasn't really NIL. I mean, that's certainly the case for college baseball too, where these programs the last few years have brought in guys and essentially paid them to be on the team. And that was within the rules and what it was. And so like, it's such a fascinating time because I think you could make the argument like this was maybe one of the tougher times to break through because of the ACC, SEC numbers that I just put out there. But it's also possible that, you look into the future now and it's going to be like the baseline is going to be how many scholarships is Team X offering versus Team Y.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to see like Coastal Carolina over the weekend said they're going to scholarship all 34 of their roster spots starting next season. Like that's going to baseball the sport that they're going to go all in on. So like, I look at that, a climate like that and say, does a team like Murray State have a better chance to make it next year? I don't think they do. But at the same time, if you're a program that's sort of been okay, especially at the mid-major level, and you feel like you can take that next step, maybe this is that time. So like, I think of like teams like Oral Roberts or Dallas Baptist or somebody like that that's been pretty good in baseball, but maybe they don't have the football component, and they feel like this is where they can leave their mark as a Division I athletic program. So I just think maybe the landscape is changing, where it's still going to be hard, and you're going to be up against teams that are investing and going all in like you. But I think it's going to be more about what other programs identify themselves as baseball programs. And so that's still going to be the SEC. That's still going to be the ACC. But maybe you're going to see some other teams pop up that feel like their identity can be in that sport, be more regular contenders for Omaha.
We didn't have a lot of home runs this year. Also, the wind blew in, and the one day that all of a sudden blew out to the left field corner, guys started to try and jack it out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
So homers were way down compared to last year when we had the likes of Caglione here. But power arms are up across college baseball, where guys that, our starters are pumping at mid-90s to upper 90s, and then it seems like every guy that's coming out of the bullpen is throwing in the upper 90s. Is this a transition in college baseball that the power arms, regardless of the bats or the balls, that the power arms are what's happening with college baseball?
Yeah, it's certainly been the trend lately. I mean, the last pitch of the College World Series was a 100-mile-an-hour fastball from Chase Shores. So, that's the way that it's going. That was certainly the trend in the SEC this year. I remember going into the postseason, you look at the ERA numbers or the strikeout numbers, and everybody in the SEC was way up there. Offense in the SEC, in a related turn was down, but I think that was more to do with the arms, like you're talking about, Gary. And I think you're seeing schools really investing in pitching more. You're seeing more pitching labs out there. You're seeing high school prospects, I think, training at a smarter and at a higher level than they have previously. And it's pretty remarkable, because you didn't see that kind of velocity outside the major leagues 20 years ago all that much, and now, like you mentioned, everybody's gotten it. And so it's biomechanics, and it's how you train, and all these other things that go into it. But it does seem like that's kind of where the future is right now. The roadmap to winning kind of starts with, do you have elite pitching? Do you have pitching depth? And then can you find a way to score? Even LSU in Omaha didn't look like a super slugging team. I mean, they looked like a bunch of professional hitters, but you really didn't feel like they were a threat to leave the yard all that often. And yeah, I think the conditions played into it some. Maybe the ballpark played into it a little bit. And then too, the last 2 or 3 years prior to this one, you saw home run and power numbers surging at an all-time rate. And so it almost feels like it was way cut down because it wasn't another record this year. Yeah. So I think all that kind of plays into it, but it does seem like right now the recipe for getting to Omaha and for being a contender is you got to have a bunch of fireballers, and then if you can build an offense around that and start squeezing out some runs, then you got a chance.
Does Nebraska baseball have the resources to build a team like that?
Well, the thing with Nebraska baseball, at least in the last 15 years, has been, do they have the depth of guys to do that? They've had some guys at the top. I mean, they've had some Friday night and Saturday guys and some closers, I think, that have been right on par with what you see nationally. But the kicker has always been the second or the third game of a regional or in the midweek. Do you have guys that can come out and do that? We saw that even in the regional this year with Oklahoma, where they're bringing in guys that hadn't really gotten all that much work during the season, and they were throwing mid-90s, and you're like, whoa, I mean, this guy has some stuff. So I think that's kind of been the thing with Nebraska, has been less the front end guys and more just that ability to bring in depth. And I'm not just talking about attracting depth, but also developing it. They've developed some of those guys, but a lot of the players that they've had that they've kind of considered to be projects, it just doesn't seem like, especially the last 5 to 10 years, doesn't seem like a lot of those guys have panned out into something maybe greater than what their recruiting page said that they would be. So I think that's kind of the challenge right now. If you're not picking at the very top in terms of recruiting, and you're not in the in the South where these pitchers are a lot more common, I think it's harder. So yeah, I mean, your onus on Nebraska is to continue to attract them financially with what you're doing in terms of winning, and then also can you develop some guys with the raw ability so that they have that command and can turn into difference makers.
Hey, I felt bad for you a little bit because you are on the College World Series beat, and Will Bolt's gang, they won't stop making noise or news with additions or subtractions. And this is how the portal works. The portal giveth, the portal taketh away. Not everybody leaving is for the same reason. But the latest is TJ Coates. And I know we're looking at additions they made on their pitching staff, but here's a guy that threw a little bit, had started to go to summer ball. Now he's in the portal. What wrinkle does this throw into their rotation or their pitching staff for next year with a guy that at least had towed the slab for him in 2024 or 2025?
Yeah, my sense is they probably didn't want to lose TJ Coates, especially considering they had him set up on a summer ball assignment. He was one of the rare Huskers that was in the Cape Cod League, which tells you that they felt like he needed to see top-end college competition and maybe was trending toward a significant role in the team next year. And it was kind of interesting. He had a really good first start. And so I don't know this, but oftentimes I know there is sort of an apprehension that if you go somewhere in the summer and have a good performance, you're not immune from hearing from other schools at that point too. So I'll be fascinated to see kind of how that turns out for him. But yeah, I mean, Coates was a guy who Nebraska brought in out of junior college a year early, kind of like they did with Mason McConaughey the previous cycle, because they felt like he could contribute right away. He had a couple midweek starts that didn't go so well. And then really after that one outing against Creighton where he got one out, he didn't really see the light of day much the rest of the season. But he was a guy who had some swing and miss in his arm and was still just going to be a junior next season. So, yeah, I think he was in the mix at least to have a midweek role at the very least. Looks like he had some promise. And so that's probably one of those guys I'd put on that side of the ledger that Nebraska wasn't thrilled to lose, along with Caden Brumbaugh, maybe Riley Silva. But yeah, Coates, it'll be fascinating to see where he continues his career because I did think he had a lot of potential.
Does it seem weird that he's out there, high profile, and all of a sudden, boom, he's in the portal? Does it seem like it might be a little fishy?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know that that's the case, but if you go somewhere on a summer league assignment with your team and you have a good first outing and then you're in the portal, yeah, I mean, it's the timing of it is curious. That's why I'm saying I'll be interested to see where he ends up and if those things are related or if that's just sort of a coincidence or related to something else. But as far as Nebraska goes, there haven't been a lot of examples in the portal era of where a guy has made that decision while he's out in the summer. I mean, typically they've been able to hang on to those guys and reap the benefits of their development the next year. So not the case with Coates. And again, just kind of curious to see what his next step is because he does have 2 more college seasons.
Yeah, it never ends. July 1 is when it does close. Evan, great job by you and your colleagues. I really enjoyed it. Your gamer from yesterday was fantastic, my friend. So congratulations. Enjoy a little downtime.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. And I'll throw it right back at you. I mean, you guys work like dogs out there at this College World Series, too. So I think the local media, we do ourselves proud of this thing. So appreciate you guys.
Hey, thank you very much for
Evan.
that. Appreciate
you as well.
It. Yep. That's Evan Bland from the Omaha World Herald.
Handshake meme.
Yeah.
OWH and 1620 the zone. Just together. Just hard workers.
I think the World Herald, they have a role in the College World Series. And, of course, we do.
Yes.
I mean,
we do.
I think we do it. We love it. I mean, it can be long, yes.
It was my sore throat is a reminder of all of the talking that I've been doing, but I genuinely had a great time.
There are a lot of people, though, that think that we just come into town for the College World Series. Or they go, what do you guys do now? What do you guys... you just come back?
The amount of people who came up to me and go, "Is this a radio station?" I was like, "Yes."
We had the guy the other day who was like, "Hey, do you guys do podcasting?" Well, yeah, kind of. We do.
I mean, we post it, right?
Yeah,
that one kid asked me yesterday, he goes, "Is this TV?" And I simply said, "There's no cameras." I mean, which was a lie. We did have that one camera that made you look like Casper the Ghost. You looked so
Well, yeah, I'm
pale
not sure.
white.
I'm not. If you were on the left side,
You were screwed.
because the sun was coming at you.
Right at you. Yeah, it was a bad color. Do you not tan, by the way? Are you not a tanner? You were out.
Like fake bake?
You just don't. You don't like look at me. Like I got real tan, right? Like I got a really good tan. You didn't really tan, but you didn't burn either.
Well, because I put on sunscreen.
But you still tan when you
I
put
tan.
on.
I do tan.
You didn't get as much as I thought you would. I thought you would get a little bit tanner. You were out there way more than I was.
Well, I also sometimes I wear long sleeves.
Oh, okay.
I learned, man, when you're an FLA kid, you learn.
I thought you would be looking like you got like the number 10 at LA Tan after the CWS.
No. So the transfer that took a visit to Nebraska, Andy Jackson's boyfriend can't get into Nebraska. Isaac Washman is committed to Creighton.
He's a tall guy.
Yeah, he's
third baseman, I think.
Hit about 230 last year.
Yeah, he's a good-looking prospect, but he definitely had a rougher end of the year.
How can you, again, there's something about credits in the business school in Lincoln that he could not get in.
I never, you know what? I went to,
now,
I have a business.
What if he was a 328 hitter? He'd get in.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Come on. Now, I have a business minor, and I never stepped foot into the College of Business because I took the classes online and I made it like a vow. Like 3 years in, I was like, you know what? We've gone 3 years without stepping foot into the Cobb. I ain't going in. So never went in there. But I have a minor from their school.
All right, last hour upcoming. More on the ejection of Kevin Schnall yesterday. Good email about maybe not everybody is treated the same. We'll get into that when we come back on Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. So a question here.
Yeah.
On the B-2 bombers who returned to Whitman Air Force Base, 37 hours. They a couple times got refueled in midair. If you've ever seen how it happens, it's amazing. But they were busy this weekend. One, wouldn't it be something if the week before one of the B-2 bombers that was involved this weekend in the bombing of Iran was actually one of them that flew over the College World Series last Friday?
Can you imagine if they go, hey, we'll give them a nickname. Hey, Hangman, before you head out over there, can you just do a quick little flyby over Omaha? Just do that real quick, and then you can get on your mission.
Yeah. Then the other question I have.
Okay.
So you always see the it's now almost every year at the Rose Bowl.
Okay.
Because they will have a B-2 bomber flyover.
Sure.
And there is some great shots, like the Oregon-Ohio State game this year. It's flying over the Rose Bowl. And there is, I don't know where they got this shot from, but there's a shot from way above that's looking straight down. So basically, it looks like the B-2 bomber takes over the Rose Bowl, but you can clearly tell that the Rose Bowl is going on. But it's the flyover.
Yeah.
It's a great
That's
picture.
incredible.
And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, that's the last thing I want coming at me.
So,
but I would like to know because I'm pretty sure that flyover, they were at Whitman, down in Missouri, and came up and flew over the College World Series last Friday.
So we were at Cross Stream Brewery, Josh Peterson and I, and one of the guys said there, he goes, I think that came from Missouri, is what he was saying. And he's like, I was in Missouri for 10 years. We were right by the base. Those bombers were always flying around. That probably came from Missouri. So good call on your part. Second part, we saw the flyover coming, right? We saw it like developing. Like we looked and we're like,
Josh took you to Cross Strain on day one of the College World Series.
Yeah, we had a great time.
Good on him.
I met Bobby Cross. I met both Cross and Strain, but because they're two guys. I had no clue.
The most important guy there is Doug.
Yes, met Doug as well. But I met Cross. They go, that's Cross and that's Strain. And so I met Bobby Cross, which was sick. What? Why are you shaking your head?
It's okay.
Okay. Let me know later. But anyway, we saw it coming. We're like, whoa. And then we see I'm like, that's a stealth bomber. And I flash back to the Pat McAfee, Desmond Howard, Kirk Herbstreit clip.
When they were at the Rose Bowl and it was
like practicing and they were all freaking out. But then, so it flies by the stadium, it goes overhead, you hear the cheers, and then that thing disappeared.
Well, no, remember. So it went over.
Yeah.
And then it was probably, I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds later, you actually heard it.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was well past the stadium by the time in the stadium you heard the noise.
It was well past the stadium. And you see it kind of maneuvering, right? It's going right and it's strafing. And then all of a sudden it took a left and go. And I was a little freaked out. I was like, the fact that I don't have my eyes on that thing whispered out of the wind so quickly. It was incredible.
I mean, can you imagine being a pilot of that? And they're like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? We got a 37-hour mission. We're just going to go over, come back, just fly.
We just got to make a quick stop at the CWS.
But I would.
You want to claim that?
No,
you can claim that.
I want somebody to
just claim it.
Hey, that one that flew over last Friday, the first day of the College World Series? Yeah. I'd be like, yeah.
You can claim that.
75th anniversary of the College World Series?
It's on the way, right? It's on the way. You're going east at that point, right? So you just gave me a little detour north. So
we had, you guys by now have seen the Snickers commercial with Andy Reid and the person that misspells Chiefs in the end zone.
Yeah. You're not you.
So Cam Jurgens was back this weekend. They had a big parade. Cam is Cam. Cam will never, you cannot take Pickrell or Beatrice out of Cam. And that's wonderful. So he came back because they named the football field at Beatrice after him. And then it's not Homestead Days. Whatever the weekend was in Beatrice, they had a parade. And he is on, I'm going to get killed for this. To me, it's a riding lawnmower, but he's in the parade and he's driving the riding lawnmower.
Okay. We can't get him a bigger float. I mean, there was a bigger float riding around in Omaha this weekend.
Well, but Tiger. We don't need a Nebraska Cornhusker because you can go inside the Tiger. like because it's a float, so
Sure.
you can stand inside the
Yeah.
Tiger, which
But
T-Bob and Mincy and other guys from Barstool were doing.
can we not get him that
No,
John Deere
but
tractor?
that's-
Can we not get him the John Deere tractor that Matt Rule's jumping off of? Can we not just make a call? Hey guys, real quick, can we just borrow this thing so our like one of our most famous alumni can look like a boss?
By the way, was that Cam Jurgens weekend where you had a combine and a steer? Isn't that just like that's Cam Jurgens' life? So go back to Friday night. They have this big ceremony, and it's pretty damn cool. They're naming the field after him. Did you see the unveiling?
Yeah.
So
I have a little story on that.
It's really, really cool. The G is upside down. The G in Jurgens is upside down at the Cam Jurgens Field in Beatrice.
It looks like Gaelic writing. Like it looks a little bit like.
Please tell me that other people caught this,
No,
because I was watching it and they pull the cover off because they had a really cool ceremony, and I think what they're doing for him is awesome.
Yeah.
And he's great back in his community.
It doesn't look that bad. Like you could kind of pass,
No, you can't. No, you can't.
You could kind of pass it off a little bit.
The G is upside down.
It's good that there's not another G on the field. If there was another
True.
G on the field where you could be like, hey, this is what it's supposed to look like. If you were lazy, you could pass it off. Like I have some crooked frames in my room. I'm just like, man, it's whatever. You tilt it a little bit. You could tell people, yeah, it's a different type of font. It's a different type of G. It's bad. So funny enough, the guy who helped unveil it with Cam, his name's Jake Bartecki. He's
NCN.
NCN.
Yeah, big NASCAR guy.
Loves NASCAR.
He's a Chicago guy too, right?
Him and I went to the same high school.
Okay.
So he was a senior when I was a freshman.
Yeah, he does good work.
When I went through college counseling in high school, when I went through, they're trying to figure out where you're supposed to go.
I didn't hear the college part. I was
no. College counseling. I wasn't that
Put you
bad
on
of
the
a
couch.
kid. Nope. They literally told me, hey, I know you're looking at all these schools. One school you don't have on your list is Nebraska. Jake Bartecki went there. He's killing it right now.
Oh.
You should look at it. So I went to Nebraska in part because Jake Bartecki went there. I saw Bartecki at the CWS. Go, hey, how's the unveiling? Oh, went great. Everything like that. And someone who I didn't know popped up and goes, hey, so that letter's backwards. And I go, what? And Bartecki goes, yeah, that's they kind of messed it up, but that's not the final iteration. So they're going to fix it. Bartecki
Well,
told
I would
me,
expect them to fix
Bartecki
it.
told me that they still have things to do over there in general and that they're going to fix the name and whatnot. But it was really funny that I saw Jake. I was like, hey, and I see it. And just pop, someone goes, hey, you messed up. What up, Bartecki?
Well, I love like Cam will never forget his roots. But
he just seems like a good dude.
Oh,
he just
is.
seems like the prototypical, like, I would love to play pool with him.
I wish the end here would have been more amicable.
Sure.
Like, I still to this day don't believe that Nebraska wished him well when he said he was leaving to go to the draft. You know what? Nebraska should not have done that. That will bug me to this day that Scott did not want to publicly acknowledge, like he had to be forced to say something about Cam leaving. But Cam is doing good things, and I'm glad he's back. And they just had a tribute to him on back-to-back weekends in recruiting with a combine and a steer, which you could find Cam in both of.
And it's great that that hasn't been an issue, because how embarrassing would it be if there was a bad relationship between Nebraska and not probably the most successul athlete that you've had from the football side in the last 6 years.
You had a quarterback and a center that departed, and you did not you had to be pushed into acknowledging publicly their contributions to your program. I want to read an email here. This is on the heels of what happened yesterday at the College World Series with the ejection of Kevin Schnall. Brian writes into the Equitable Bank inbox. I've been going to the CWS my whole life, and in my 30s, go back to last year's College World Series and the Tennessee coach, Tony Vitello, consistently got the SEC treatment by the NCAA, and I guarantee he did and said more than Coastal's coach did yesterday. Bottom line is the ump had zero feel for the moment yesterday, and in my opinion, it ruined the finals.
They both had zero feel for the moment. I think they both had zero feel for what was going on. They clearly were not on the same page in terms of what that altercation was. Clearly, Schnall thought that he had more of a rope, but at the same time, Schnall did not have the self-awareness to realize you're screaming and yelling and walking at the ref, putting up 3 fingers in front of everybody. Like, you're showing him up. He was showing up the umpire. He was. Now, should he have been thrown out for it? No, I don't think he should have. But at the same time, and at the presser too, I was not a fan of him saying, at Coastal Carolina, we have a saying called own it, right? And then, and that's what we're going to do. We're a championship program, and as a man, I'm going to own it. And then, a paragraph later, he starts saying, it's not my fault a guy isn't athletic. It's not my fault he was embarrassed, and then just starts digging into him. So are you owning it, or are you saying what you believe? Because now I don't know. Now I don't know where you're going.
Now, to Brian's point, so Tony Vitello, who last year won the national championship, and by the way, Tennessee is killing it in the portal. I do get to watch a lot of SEC baseball because it's on, and in February and March, I kind of want to watch some baseball. Is the umpires in the SEC know him, so I think he gets the longest leash of anybody in college baseball because he's not subtle about his conversations. Now, kind of to a point that Jeff Hendricks made in the second hour when he called in and we talked about the incident yesterday. It may look more animated, but the conversation may be different. But because of him and his actions, you think it's like just wall to wall. But he also might have a good relationship with umpires that they'll let him go. If I'll let you say my piece, and then I will, as long as you let me say why I'm making this call. I do think that there are umpires that are a little bit more veteran, that are a little bit more thin-skinned, that will pick and choose, and they develop a relationship back to the communication we talked about with Jeff, that I think Tony V does get a longer leash. But Brian is right. There's some stuff last year that Tony V did that if Angel Campos is working behind the plate,
oh my God,
he's probably gone. Or Tony understands you've been warned and won't do it. Again, I think if you stand in the dugout and you show the 3 fingers and you bark, there's at some point you take off the mask and say, that's it.
Yeah.
You don't throw them out, but you say, that's it. But once you come on the field, then you're in a situation of.
Another thing too, though, he shooed him and Schnall saw red. And that's when he gave him the shoe. That was you don't, it's not even you don't do it to a coach. You don't do it to a human. Okay? You don't go like this to somebody. It's very disrespectful. Now, back to what you just said about Tony V. I still
love
stand.
Him, man. We need Tennessee in the College World Series.
I still stand firm
year.
On this. He's the same as Danny Hurley. The same exact as Danny Hurley. Because that's the same thing in the Big East with the referees, right? I've been told Danny Hurley off the court, great guy.
Yeah.
Very nice, very respectful. You enjoy being around him. And then you get on the court and you know that something just flips and he's different. But those referees know, hey, this is Danny flipping the switch. This is how he is. We're not going to let this interrupt the game. We're going to let him be him, coach his team. This is how he wins. It's the same thing with Tony V, where it's like, if you know him, right, and you know this is him flipping the switch, you give him that. It really just comes down to, I don't know if there's a switch that Kevin Schnall flips. I think Kevin Schnall is just that way. Yeah. I think that's just who he is.
All right, quick break. We'll come back. Nebraska's tribute to Cam Jurgens, the last 2 weekends of photo ops, including a steer being brought into the weight room. We will discuss, because today Nebraska could be getting a cornerback, a 4-star cornerback, and a running back who will make their decisions. Does it have to do with
a steer?
The head football coach at Nebraska, which is the exception, not the rule, is doing aura farming.
Exception, not the rule.
We're back with more Gary and Matt after this. All right, if we would have game 3, we'd be maybe 38 minutes away from first pitch for
That is
game
crazy.
3. Anyone have anything to do with the weather?
When do you think the LSU tailgaters would have been doing? You think they would have been liquored up at 10 a.m. heading into the ballpark?
I don't know. It would have been a very interesting atmosphere after Coastal Carolina if they would have forced a game 3 and you're playing at 10 a.m.
Oh, and they wouldn't have had their coach either.
No.
Which would have been crazier. I was going to ask you that. You never saw that before where they put up the 2 fingers? I've
No.
never seen that.
They usually announce that afterwards.
Well, then, so I think it was Kevin Kugler who was on the call. I was
That'd
walking.
be correct.
Well, yeah, I think it. No. I know Kevin Kugler was on the call. I didn't know if it was him who said it, but I'm pretty sure it was when I was walking out and you can hear the radio and he goes, "Yeah, Kevin Chenault won't be available for game 2," and that was like the talk of the press box.
Yep. And I'm sure that, there will be some media member was like, hey, Coach Schnall, first game of next year. Do you want to watch it with me? Second straight year because Eric Bakich got thrown out in the final game of their Super against Florida last year.
Wow.
And so he missed the opening 2 games.
They should, you know what? They should do that with Coastal Carolina. If you can't coach the first game, they should auction that off, the ability to watch the first game of the season with Coach Schnall. You remember they did that with Roger Goodell during COVID? They're like, hey, you get to come in Roger's man cave and sit in his lazy boy and watch a game with him. And then Dave Portnoy bought it. And then they were like, nope, we're not going to let you watch a game with Roger Goodell.
By the way, full disrespect for Adam Silver yesterday.
What about?
I mean, they had game 7.
Yeah.
And
they actually put effort into the presentation. So kudos.
They did, but
it took them forever. They finally did a pregame hype package.
Yeah, but you know this. So in the top 100 programs that are sports, for 5 straight years, the NBA has had a goose egg. The NFL has dominated the top 100.
Oh, sure.
But the NBA has not been on that list in 5 years. Now, we got a game 7 this year, and it will have 30% less audience than we had in 97.
That is wild.
But you know this about the NBA, where everybody wants to talk about everything that has nothing to do with actual games that are being played. Yesterday, Kevin Durant, who that was staged, by the way, at the Fanatics, he knew that he had been traded.
Mm-hmm.
And when, they asked him on stage and then afterwards with Kay Adams. If that happened in the NFL,
oh my God,
Roger Goodell,
the hammer would come
Roger
down.
Goodell would have a horse head in your bed. He would come after you. That is the total. You mean
you never
they couldn't
do that.
wait a day
literally
for Houston and Phoenix
do you know
to
how,
have, and it's not official until July 6th. But if you would do that on Super Bowl day in the NFL, Roger Goodell would have you gone.
Good luck.
But in the NBA, we go, Kevin Durant traded on game 7 again.
Can you imagine right now? This would be the perfect time. 9:30 in the morning. Game 7 has just concluded. The Oklahoma City Thunder are champions. Let's celebrate that for the night. Let's celebrate that heading into the game. And then right now, bang, oh my God. Kevin Durant is now Houston Rocket. That would dominate today. Because there are 0 sports going on for the next, other than Major League Baseball. There's not a lot going on. This would dominate headlines today if they just released the news today.
Yeah. And by the way,
one of the stupidest things. Same thing with the Lakers. The Lakers, we had 2 NBA Finals games in a row where things that were happening around the league were a bigger deal than the game going on that day. Or was getting more hype or more conversation. I didn't give a damn about game 7 until an hour before. They did a good job of presenting it though, which I sat down and I saw them do the pregame hype package and the whole thing where they showed the past game 7s that's happened in the NBA Finals, and then they meshed that what's gone on in the series. And then they did the cinematic recap of how we got here to game 7. And I'm like, could we have not done this for every game this series?
Yeah, you know what?
Back
in the day, they used to do those live too, by the way. The Costas Open, which is famous for the 94 Orange Bowl, he did that live.
Well,
like a lot of the Musburgers, when CBS had the NBA Finals, a lot of that stuff was live. The problem is, they're the whole ESPN operation, but thankfully the big days next year, like Christmas, the NBA Finals,
We'll have some professionals.
we'll have Inside the NBA. They had, the yelling show, which is just.
I'm convinced that when they do that zoom out of the camera and they head to break, that somebody is saying into their ears to all four of them, yell, scream, say something, because it's great. That's their signature sign off.
And I think it has affected their best play-by-play guy for basketball.
He had
so he was trying to make the 2025 finals game 7 like the 2010 finals, and it was tough for him to get hyped. And Doris Burke might not be there, Richard Jefferson. It's really an odd combo across the board.
It was not good.
ESPN needs to blow up their NBA coverage, and they're going to be helped because they're going to get the inside the NBA. But here's what they missed yesterday, and I can't imagine. I would love to have an off-the-record conversation with Bob Myers, who has to think, what in the heck is Stephen A. Smith doing here? They missed twice yesterday a great opportunity to ask Bob Myers, former general manager of the Golden State Warriors, 2 huge questions surrounding the same guy. They did not get into a discussion about Kevin Durant and changing teams. And then you would think at halftime, when Halliburton goes down with an Achilles in Game 7, wouldn't that be a great opportunity to ask Bob Myers about Kevin Durant going down with an Achilles in the finals? Never happened.
You think
they've got a guy, they've got a perfect guy right there.
Do you think there's a red mark there or a black mark being like, hey, we don't ask Bob Myers about Kevin Durant? You think that's still a sore subject?
No, they just suck at their job.
No, he's sitting right there, could offer some great insight what it was like when he went down with the Warriors in the finals, and you just had that happen. It's 19 seconds of guys screaming at each other and going, and then one guy taking a shot at another, and you're totally confused, and you're like, please get me back to the game.
Well, they spent 5 minutes on making the picks for the game, which how the NFL does the picks is great, right? I put a camera on Gary. Gary, you say, I got the Packers, shows you the score. I put a camera on Jimmy. Jimmy, you say the score, shows what it is. They gave them all like a minute to go on a soliloquy about who was going to win the finals. They all picked the same team. They all said the same thing. Oh, I'm picking Oklahoma City because Oklahoma City's the better team. Oh, I don't know Tyrese Halliburton's availability tonight. Will he be able to pull it off again? I'm going to take SGA in the MVP. Like, it was just one of those things. And then Malika did the open, right before she sent it down. It was a good open. Has she done that for any of the other games? Like, why wasn't she? So. The first thing I immediately thought of was, great job. Why didn't you do that for games 1 through 6? Because that is when we talk about they're treating this like the regular season, it's those little added elements that elevate the broadcast into making you think this is more important, right? Having Malika go on a minute rant about why this is so important. Then we send it down to Mike Breen, who his final call, if I was an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, I'd be pretty disappointed with what the final call was. It was just a very nonchalant.
It also
Oklahoma City finally does it, and then
but it became very anticlimactic because of
the game.
Of Oklahoma City pulling away.
And then you also have a guy in SGA who's just determined to play the cool guy 24/7 and doesn't want to like jump up and down and have that like they kind of. Did you see? I saw this tweet. It was a side-by-side of the Stanley Cup celebration and the NBA celebration. And just like Oklahoma City just kind of didn't seem too phased until they got into the stage, that they just accomplished what they accomplished. I think Bob Myers, though, was really good.
I'm looking at the 100 most watched US TV broadcasts
this year. I think, 88 of them were football, right? Or something stupid like that.
The NFL. Just a random bad week 1 national window game still between the Cowboys and the Browns 2 years ago still draws 11 million people that watch that game.
I often think about that quote from the Will Smith movie Concussion, and it's a great quote. The NFL owns a day of the week. It's the same day of the week the church used to own, and now it's theirs. Like that kind of puts whether or not you disagree with it, it's a movie quote, but it kind of puts that into perspective of the fact that Sundays are for football. When we think of a day of the week, we literally think of a league that plays.
I'm trying to look last year's NBA Finals.
It was funny though. Did you?
So they had $12 million for a game 2 between the Celtics and the Mavericks. I think that was the highest.
So $8 million was the low point, right, of this series, right about there, which hadn't been lower since COVID, since that finals between the Heat and the Lakers. I think Bob Myers is really good, but I think that Bob Myers, unfortunately, is a true basketball guy who knows a ton about the game, and is paired up with two people who just don't want to speak in the same language that he wants to speak. And I think he's done a good job of.
He didn't talk very much. I have no idea.
But that's the thing. He's done a better job of trying to adapt to Stephen A. and Kendrick Perkins. But when you adapt to Stephen A. and Kendrick Perkins, you lose basketball knowledge.
Well, yes, like
You
talking to
become dumber.
4-year-olds.
Yeah.
You have to speak their language.
You become dumber.
The other thing that ESPN is getting a lot of pushback today is how many times Halliburton's injury was shown.
Man, they did a great job, though, doing the close-up on his face and him banging the court. And then you saw the lip reading. He goes, I did it. That was the most heartbreaking.
Oh, he knew. I mean, it's the Achilles injury. It's the pushing off mechanism, and then you see a clear pop in the calf. I mean, now we just, I don't know. It seems like we're hearing more about Achilles injuries, like just blowing up, than I ever recall.
I think it's just the explosivity of the game, and these. I mean,
or why are you playing with a
calf strain?
Calf strain. That's about it. There's a reason why that's a 2-month injury, where they put you in the boot, and they don't want movement. I mean, I know you're playing in the finals and you want to play, and that's very admirable. But now we have too much evidence that high-level athletes that have that kind of a calf strain, what do they get next? An Achilles, and now you're done for the year.
It went very under the radar, and it was said by, I don't even know the guy's name, but they did an ESPN, before Game 6, they did ESPN Bet, and they did a lead-in to the NBA Finals, okay? And on the lead-in from ESPN Bet, the guy who was on the screen, I was watching him, goes, they brought Kendrick Perkins on, and the guy says to Kendrick Perkins, hey, Kendrick, this is an injury that we've been told that if this happened during the regular season, Tyrese Halliburton would be out for a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. Like that, like the risk reward. I know you're in the NBA Finals, and I know it's Game 7, but you're telling, if this is day to day, and during the regular season, you might be out for like a game or two, or it's just a really difficult thing to play on. I get it. To play on an injury that you would be out for multiple weeks for, I mean, that's dangerous. It's so dangerous. It's super dangerous.
And unfortunately,
to do that with anybody.
Dame, Tatum, and Halliburton are going to be out for a whole year, and it may not play this upcoming year.
I don't know. I think Milwaukee's getting more calls. I think Milwaukee. I think if they weren't getting more calls now, I think they're getting them, because I like you said, you kind of look at the landscape of the NBA, and you're like, the Knicks are going to be the favorite to win the Eastern Conference.
Watch out for the Orlando Magic or the Cleveland Cavaliers. And what does Boston do now? Remember, they're already going to talk about cutting. I mean, the East is wide open.
What if they trade for Giannis? I'm kidding.
I don't think they have room.
No, they literally are going to have the most expensive roster in team history.
All right, when we come back at 4:00 today, Nebraska they need a cornerback. Will they get a cornerback? There is some weird stuff going on with Danny Odom. Also, Nebraska should get their running back in the class of 26 at 5:30 today. So you have that to look forward to if you're wondering, what do we do now? Quick break, come back, we'll put a wrap on this Monday edition of Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone.
We want to thank AGR Roofing and Construction, local quality service. Go to AGR Roofing and Construction right now. Give them a call or go ahead and schedule it right there for your first free inspection on agrroofingandconstruction.com.
Again, if we were playing Game 3 of the College World Series, we'd be about 19 minutes from first pitch because of the fear of the weather later today.
There was a real, man.
How much of
the fear-mongering?
Would that be a 10 a.m. Game 3 winner take all?
The fear-mongering that was done.
She got to, didn't she?
On Monday and Tuesday. She did. She did. All I was told was, it's going to rain. It's going to rain. It's going to come down. I had Josh Peterson telling me, we're going to do a 4-hour pregame show.
No, he's the snow guy.
He was. Connor Happer came up to me and said, we're screwed. He goes, we are so
what did I
screwed.
say to all? I said, we'll have rain, but no tarp.
He was like, we're so screwed. We have never been more screwed. Everybody's screwed. He was just a bunch of fear mongers. And we ended up, look, I'm going to tell you something right now. It's my first College World Series. There's only one rain delay. All right? Maybe I'm good luck. Maybe I'm good luck for people. I'm telling you, there's been a string of good luck for Matt McMaster when he shows up to places. You think it's a coincidence the Mavericks made their first NCAA tournament and I just popped up? I got credited.
When you showed up, we were 4-9.
Yeah.
No, we were actually 4-6.
You hadn't played Cal Poly yet before I showed up. You had not played the game that turned the season around. And then Tony Osborne met me and told me I was the good luck charm. And I'm the good luck charm for the CWS too. Seems like everybody had a great time.
Okay. All right.
I'm taking that. I'm claiming that. I did not survive. I have. You should look at my bank account. I spent so much money on cough drops. It's ridiculous. So much money.
Like
that and beer.
What is so much money on cough drops?
Yeah, you buy one bag and you eat them.
2 different bags.
2 bags.
It was $10.
I mean, I believe that everything's expensive.
It was super expensive.
Bad.
And then I had to get the.
You've never bought cough drops before in your life, have you?
No.
Okay.
Never. They have always been given to me, either by my mother or by someone who just some random person being like, "Oh, I got a couple cough drops."
Well, if you're going to work in this business, you're going to have some cough drops in your bag.
Well, I bought the cough drops that you have to like show your ID at in order to get them. You know, because you can make the Lil Wayne stuff. You can make the perp drink. You know, the lean with it, rock.
I know. You gave me one the other day. That was.
The look on your face, you were disgusted.
Well, it was just it had a kick to it.
It had a numbing agent to it.
Yeah,
that's called codeine.
Then you got sunscreen in your eye.
Yeah,
and I was like, I've never seen you.
It's gonna go down.
I've never seen you in that state before. I was worried.
I wonder next year. Let's say ESPN doesn't have Major League Baseball, and Karl Ravech gets to stay here the whole time. Oh, I thought you guys were going to chime in.
No.
Oh. Why? I wonder if so I love the fact that we have ABC is involved.
Okay.
And that's where we had the game yesterday. I wonder if there will be a push to keep all 3 games of the championship series at night. Because the reason ESPN does not have a night game is because Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if ABC gets like the Monday or the Saturday game, ESPN gets one, and all 3 games are at night because they play in the day because of ESPN having Major League Baseball.
A night game with those stakes is way better than a day game. And if you were at the day game yesterday, there were definitely way less people there at the day game than there was at the night game from the night before. And I know that's a Saturday to Sunday thing, but we're also in the summer. Could you what do you think the crowd would have been for a 10 a.m. first pitch? How many?
I mean, it would have been the same people that are still in town that couldn't. They would have stuck around, but it just would have been.
What do you think the entry price would have been? Pretty low, right?
Very low, very low, very low. Like if you when Coastal Carolina and Arizona played in 16 and the series kept getting pushed back, and they played on a Thursday in the afternoon. I think if you had a swim trial ticket, you got in for free. I think that was the case.
That was a thing?
Yeah,
that was
the swim
a
trials
promotion?
were going on at the same time.
Wow. Yeah, no.
Yeah, but if we would have been playing today, it would be about 15 minutes from starting.
Probably would have been advantage LSU because I couldn't imagine too many Coastal fans.
There's I believe today that we will all get into our inbox or across your feed. The Kyle Crooks is the new play-by-play voice of Nebraska football, baseball, the host of Sports Nightly. He most recently was at Florida, but I believe they are announcing that publicly today. It's one of the worst kept secrets out there.
Yeah.
You heard me pause. People are speculating about basketball.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that Kent doesn't know. Kent's moving forward like he is the voice of Nebraska basketball, but he has not been told either way.
I wish nothing but good luck. And we talked about this because Josh Peterson, wrote a story a little bit. We talked about the Omaha Baseball Village. I wish nothing but good luck to Kyle Crooks and the work that he's going to do. I don't think they would have hired anyone that didn't understand how big of a job this is and how much this job means to people. Ken Pavelka has deserved to, honestly, in my opinion, decide when he's done on his terms.
Kent's younger than me. So he's got many great years left in him if he wants to do it.
Ken Pavelka has been synonymous with men's basketball and has done incredible work for so many years. And he's worked so hard.
Still calls him Mean Game.
And also, too, so gracious with his time when it comes to anyone around that program, whether you are a young radio host, you want him on your show, or whether you want to talk to him as a student, whether you're just kind of walking around. He's always been just literally a shining example of what a great broadcaster is.
He's the OG. He's been fantastic to me. I've known him for a long time, consider him a friend. There's speculation out there, and Kent was asking around this weekend and doesn't know, but he's moving forward like he is still the voice of Nebraska men's basketball. I think one thing that it won't happen now, but I would have loved to have Kent do one more football game.
Yeah.
It's a scenario. It's not somebody retiring. It is somebody who is beloved by all of us and will never be forgotten that has passed away.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy situation to come into. I don't care if you're from here, which, there were a few candidates, or the other candidates. It's not an easy situation, whether you're from here, not from here, to come into. But that's, I think that'll be announced publicly today. But it'll be sometime this week. So we can talk more about it when it gets there. But I know people were asking me this weekend that are in the media, have I heard anything about Kent? And that's the latest there. Now, what will happen also, we know for sure today. So Danny Odom is on 24/7, the 4-star cornerback that is going to make his announcement. There are crystal balls that are for Nebraska, but just following some of the message boards this morning, who the hell knows what this kid is going to do? So he's from Florida. Yeah. So he is from Orlando, 6 foot 175. Again, there's a couple of crystal balls from Nebraska guys, and I think Nebraska feels good. But there's on the message boards, the discussion about they have no idea what he's going to do. So buckle up for that. That's going to happen at 4. Nebraska needs a cornerback after losing Brownell.
Yes.
He's not on the level of Brownell. I know that you can't lose something that you never had, but C.J. Brownell is going to be a dude, and Nebraska had him and wasn't able to get him to Lincoln. And then at 5:30, Nebraska should get Jay Rule as their running back. But the Danny Odom thing, this is when you know the prospect's pretty good, is that it is a crap show on where is he going to go, and people are fighting. Like Clemson all of a sudden thinks they have a chance with this kid.
So
Clemson did pull off an upset earlier in the week or last week about recruiting when people didn't think it was going to be Clemson.
This would be big for now. Is Addison Williams recruiting him in Danny Odom's process? I can't find that out. I'm assuming that he is. I think it would be a big get. I just think any recruit they get in Florida is a really big get for Nebraska because Florida players are different. Florida players it's a different type of talent out there. And immediately when you just have a Florida prospect, I think a little bit higher of them and have a little bit more hope for the things that they can do. And, that is a national hotbed for recruiting. And to continue year in to year out, establish yourself within that hotbed is massive. I also love Danny Odom's picture. Did you see his recruiting picture where he had 2 like red looking lightsabers that he's taken? I love that. I love the whole, like, we got too many recruits taking pictures with watches and chains and jewelry. This guy just picked up 2 looking red lightsabers and put them in an X and was like, "This is my picture."
Was there ever a recruit on the steer, or was that just for Rule? Because there were current players like Barney and
I don't think
McGahee and Raiola that all took a picture near the steer.
I don't think anybody was man enough to sit on said steer except for Matt Rule. I think Rule was the only one who put butt to hump on the steer there. I'd be a little bit worried if they had those offensive lineman prospects try and sit on a steer for the steer's sake.
And Puma, you don't think they would put him up there?
Can you imagine if Nebraska had a PETA problem?
I don't know.
if they had a WWF problem.
Yeah, we talked about this on Saturday. So you have to just win, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just please just win. Because if you don't win, there's a lot of receipts. But you know what? Just win.
There are so many receipts.
I think, but you have to be different. Because all these kids in the month of June, there's a swirl in their head. They go to all these different visits, and a lot of things start looking the same. You have to be unique. You have to be memorable. And at least Nebraska is thinking outside of the box and trying to have some drip, as the kids say. I'm okay with what they did. It's unique to Nebraska. It's funny. And that's what this is. He's like, you want people to have fun and again to remember everything.
I cannot understate the fact Matt Rule is connected with the humor of this generation. Okay? He is totally connected on what makes these guys laugh and what makes these guys think he's cool. And giving out chains and sitting on horses and having a big old boom box and going, "Hey, yeah, you guys stand up on a tractor and I'm going to jump out on jump out from the tractor and we're going to take a picture." That's cool to him.
Yeah.
You know?
For me, my generation,
no.
I thought it was cooler that he had a TO hat, the old TO hat. But I think Nebraska will go 2 for 2 today.
Okay.
With Danny Odom. But you know a prospect is good when it's just a blank show on message boards from Clemson to Oklahoma.
Well, I was about to say, not just a blank show, but a blank show with like power teams that have consistently been at the top of college sports.
I think my crystal ball says we'll be talking about 2 editions of the class of 26 tomorrow morning.
Hey, this is exactly what we've talked about. Sooner or later, you got to beat the big dogs, right? You just have to win some of these recruiting cycles, and it's not good enough to be like, "Oh, we were so close to getting an Oklahoma commit."
The biggest one is coming on Sunday. That's if you win that one, then you're cooking with some peanut oil. Which sometimes I recommend, some I don't, depending on what your nutrition is like. All right, Game 3 of the Men's College World Series Championship Series is coming up next. LSU and Coastal Carolina. Psych. All right, we'll talk to you in 20 hours. Enjoy your Monday. Crossover's coming up next.